All right, everyone, and welcome back to the Nintendo Select podcast. I'm your host, BoTalksGames, and this morning I am joined by the backlog having, the game
Ooh.
not finishing scum
Oh.
that is
Oh,
Tucker
no.
Hazel. Tucker, how are you
All
doing?
right.
It is 6 a.m. We are recording bright and
Yeah.
early today.
Starting an early morning with a couple of Tucker Hazel insults. My favorite way to get my day started. And talking about Nintendo.
Of
That
course.
actually is a fun way to get my day started.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about this week. A lot of smaller stories, but also some huge stuff like Tears of the Kingdom leaking. There will be no
Yeah.
spoilers in this podcast. Keep that in mind.
Mm-mm.
So you're safe to watch this, although we will be talking about it in some sort of depth, covering
Yeah.
the leaks,
Yeah.
as well as the Mario movie hitting 1 billion and some other stories. But before we get into that, some housekeeping. We are on Spotify now. First up, go follow us on Spotify. Link in the description. Do that. We also have our
Yeah.
Discord, so if you want to ask us questions that we will read on the podcast, we try to get to as many as
Mm-hmm.
possible. We pulled, I think, maybe like everything except for 2 questions this week, because they were kind of similar to last week's questions.
Yeah.
So drop them in the Discord. I also make a community post, or you can even drop them in the description of this video. So
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube. So do that. Ask us questions. We love reading them. And one thing I will say, they don't have to be gaming related. They don't even have
Sure.
to be
Oh,
Nintendo
okay.
related. If you want to ask us what movie we saw 2 days ago,
Oh.
you can do
And
that.
I'll have a great story
And so yeah,
whenever
Tucker
week you
will
ask that.
talk for 2 hours.
Uh-oh.
Kind of just to warm us into the podcast.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
maybe you don't want to get straight into the gaming goodness. Now, today we are, because
Okay.
it's 6 a.m., Tucker.
Yes.
And we both just woke up to record this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I'm a
Yeah.
madman. Well, and you have
Yes.
to see Guardians 3, I think, later tonight.
I do.
Do you like
But that's not
Guardians?
why I woke up early.
Are you a big Guardians fan?
Yeah, I love the first movie. I don't like the second movie as much. And I enjoyed the holiday special, and I enjoyed the Guardians when they show up and other things. But yeah, I'm very excited for this movie. I'm hearing like a wide variety of things from like the previous. Either it's like maybe one of the best comic book movies of all time, or a really disappointing end to the trilogy. And it's like, huh, I don't know where I'm gonna fall on this.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I don't know when I'll see. I rewatched Guardians 1 2 days ago with my girlfriend. So
Great movie.
I need to rewatch 2, although I'm a little scared of it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember liking it when it came out, but enough of the Guardians talk. Tucker, we have to address something.
Okay.
And
Oh God,
I just want to lay it out here. So there was a
what did I do
comment.
this time?
There was a comment on last week's episode, the first
Yeah.
episode of the Nintendo Select podcast, and I'm not going to read the entire comment.
Okay.
We can make fun of Tucker. That's fine. I can make fun of
Oh,
Tucker.
please do.
Everybody in the comments can make fun of Tucker for not
Yes.
beating Xenoblade Chronicles 3, for not
Yep. Yep.
beating very many 3D Zeldas.
Yes. So
But there was a
look.
very aggressive comment, like actually coming at him,
Yeah.
and like that's a little funny. I did
Oh yeah.
laugh,
Yeah.
absolutely. But the comment was trying to say that because Tucker hasn't beaten every 3D Zelda, or hasn't beaten Xenoblade, or doesn't like the same games that I like, because
Mhm.
this is my channel, and so people know what I like already, because we don't have the exact same history, that's a bad thing. Half of the reason I chose Tucker to do the podcast, and I do think there's a bit of saltiness between some people, because I got a lot of people asking me to do this when I made the tweet.
Oh, well,
Um,
sorry guys. I mean,
yeah, I chose Tucker specifically because I knew he hadn't played a lot of this stuff. Because I knew he doesn't
mm,
like 2D Metroid like I do. Because I knew he
yeah.
hasn't. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know about the Zelda thing. I'm gonna be honest. That's out of pocket, Tucker. That's out of pocket.
Oh god.
So yeah, no. Let's not be shaming people for what they have and haven't played.
Yeah.
Can you expect an in-depth conversation about classic 3D Zelda from Tucker? I guess not. But that makes it interesting now when he does go back and play them,
Oh,
or
and
when
I
or his
absolutely
perspective
will.
on Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Like
Yeah.
it offers a different perspective, and that's the entire point.
Yes. And here's the interesting thing. So I'm reading this comment, I'm listening to what you're saying here, and I honestly, before this conversation, before those comments, I always thought of myself as a guy who's basically played like almost everything Nintendo has done. And of course, that's not entirely true, but I see myself as a Nintendo fan first and foremost. And guys, I've played a lot of Nintendo games, like 200 plus Nintendo games. Have I finished them all? No, not necessarily. There's some that I didn't like, some that were too long for me, whatever the case may be. I got distracted. I'm a game player. I play a wide variety of games, and frankly, sometimes it comes at the expense of, okay, I'm not particularly into this genre, so I will respect it from afar, but not really dig into it like I will some other things, or I want to be moving on to something else because I am someone who's very focused on games history, the evolution of the medium, the genres that bloom and die, and the trends that especially Nintendo takes over their history. So I have touched upon most things that Nintendo has done, and I can have very passionate conversations about things, especially where I have some touchstones. I can talk about Zelda. I have beaten 5 or 6 Zelda games. Like I'm not completely lacking in some of these departments, and I hope through this podcast and the continuing episodes of this podcast that I am able to prove myself. I mean, I guess I don't really need to, but prove myself to people that I am a Nintendo fan. I'm a very hardcore Nintendo fan. I probably beat 35 Nintendo games last year, and that's more than most people do. So hey, I will work my damnedest to show you. No, I actually do know what I'm talking about, even if I don't like Star Fox and F-Zero.
That
Okay,
was
sorry.
that
There's
was
some there's some games you don't like that I like. Come on, man.
that was one point on the comment, because last week we talked about what franchises we want to see revive for the Switch, and the dudes seem to have an issue with you having no real answer for that.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Switch has brought back most franchises that matter.
It's true.
I
It's true.
want Kid Icarus to come back. I'm not dying for it to come back. If Kid Icarus is dead forever, so be it. We already have
Mhm.
2D. They already resurrected 2D Metroid. That's all I wanted.
It's true. Yeah, they
So I'm
did.
good. I'm good on Switch.
And 3D Metroid.
Well, I don't care about that.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
No, 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 no. I'm excited to see what Retro's
Fake
cooking.
Nintendo fan.
I'm a fake Nintendo fan. Now, Tucker, I will just say though, you do need to beat Xenoblade 3, and you do need to beat Ocarina of Time. Though
Yeah,
Ocarina of
yeah.
Time is the requirement for 3D Zelda, at least.
Oh god. Yeah, I'm aware of what people say about Ocarina of Time. I'm not completely oblivious to that. 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think it's important to have a different voice and a different perspective, because
Yeah.
it lets us have fun debates, and it lets us. You can, like I said, you can clown on Tucker. There's nothing wrong with clowning on this
And
man,
please do. Please do.
but don't take it personal,
Yeah, yeah.
because that comment was personal, and I don't know why. All right, let's get into our quick news. We have a lot of things here, Tucker, and like I said,
Mhm.
this is all very quickly. So I like to do a little release reminders here. So this week we saw the release of the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom
Oh
OLED
yeah.
that I
Yeah.
bought for
Of which I
absolutely.
watched your unboxing video.
I bought it for basically no reason. But just wanted to remind people it's out there. When I picked it up from Best Buy, that dude, you never know with these things when they're actually going to be limited. There was
Yeah.
probably 100
Oh
on the
really?
shelf. However, it
Oh.
was all orders being picked up, like all the Best Buy sticker on them. So
Oh,
I don't know.
okay,
I don't know if
okay.
you can like actually just walk into a Target and buy it, but that's out there now. I've heard some people saying if you put like a grip on it, which I don't do, but if you put
Mm.
like a grip on it, the back rubs off. Which I
Really?
haven't,
Oh,
I
wow,
haven't, I haven't, I haven't heard
that's
about that
fast.
for any. Yeah, I don't know if that was just one person that like,
Yeah.
I don't know if he put like some oil on it or something. I don't know what he did, but
Me
so now
oiling up
I'm
my Switch to
scared.
play some Zelda.
Yeah, getting it lubed up. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm kind of scared to use it now. But Tucker, do you have an OLED?
I don't actually. I'm still using my May 3rd, 2017 launch night Switch.
May
I was in that
3rd,
launch
fake
line.
Nintendo
Oh,
fan,
sorry,
March
March 3rd.
3rd. Oh
God,
my
oh,
goodness.
M months. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, I was there. Regardless if it was May or March, I was there on the day. I was waiting in that long line. I got the last colored Joy-Con as they were handing out like the coupons. Do you want gray? Do you want colored? My friend right behind me was like, I wanted that one. I'm like, too bad. That's
Too
how the
bad.
cookie crumbled. But no, I'm still using my day one Switch, and I don't have any issues with it. I've only had Joy-Con drift like once a couple years ago. I'm not having like any expansion on the top, and I've played this thing for probably 1,000 plus hours. I mean, easily. So I don't really see myself getting an OLED because we're kind of already on the transition cusp to whatever the next console generation might be. Um, but I actually have a question for you regarding your OLED and your collection of OLEDs, as you
I have 3 of
made
them.
salient in your collection of Switches at large, as you made brought up in your unboxing video. What's your strategy for playing these consoles now that you have the Tears of the Kingdom Special Edition? Are you gonna stop using the Scarlet and Violet one? Do you transfer everything over? Are there certain games like? Do you want to play Tears of the Kingdom on that one because it's got Zelda Joy-Con and a Zelda back, and you're like, this just feels right? What do you do with that?
That was my plan. And here's the thing: I collect, and I have
Yeah.
I'm lucky
Oh,
enough to
really?
have I'm lucky enough to have the money to collect. So it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter what I end up doing with it. I had for the past 6 months, I've had the Scarlet and Violet OLED in its dock sitting on my desk, and then I had the regular OLED in my entertainment system, which is
Yeah.
literally 2 feet over there. So I had 2 docks hooked
Yeah.
up for no reason. Um, what I did with the Scarlet and Violet one though is I pretty much exclusively used it as a Pokemon device for those 6 months. So
Sure.
I only had my Pokemon games on it.
Yeah.
The issue is Nintendo's account system. I get that it's better than it was. It's still not great. You have to like
Sure.
do this
Yeah.
primary stuff, and you have to transfer cloud saves, and certain games don't have cloud saves, like Pokemon, so you have to transfer them
Mm.
manually, and it's
Oh, that's
a
right.
huge pain
Yeah.
in the butt. So I was planning on transferring everything from my regular launch OLED to the Tears of the Kingdom one, but then I was like, you know what? This isn't worth doing it.
Yeah.
Especially,
Yeah.
and it was especially when I heard that apparently the paint on the back of the Tears of the Kingdom OLED can rub off easily. I don't know if that's actually true. That might have just been that one
Mm.
post, and I don't know what the hell happened
Yeah.
there. But what I did was the Tears of the Kingdom one's sitting here right now, and I boxed up the Scarlet and Violet one. I just put it back in the box, and it's away now. I'm just gonna keep it nice because
Until the next Pokemon game.
well, at that point they'll have another edition, and I'll just buy that.
True. What are you gonna do for the Scarlet and Violet DLC?
I we don't play DLC on this podcast, Tucker.
That's a great point. Godspeed. You know.
I I cannot wait for them to show that because I still think it's really funny they didn't show gameplay because
Yeah.
it has to be because they're afraid of showing what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All
Oh
right,
god. Oh, Pokemon Company. It's gonna be so much fun. So once we get into a Pokemon news cycle, whether that's the DLC or something bigger later down the line, to just share our personal stories with Pokemon. I can talk about Pokemon for
yeah,
a
that's
9 hour
Tucker's
podcast.
franchise right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's no Pokemon happening right now, so people are gonna see
Yeah.
like an unfinished, unevolved Tucker for a little bit here.
I will come alive, my friends. I will come alive.
All right, another small one here. Target announced their pre-order bonus for Tears of the Kingdom. Have you been paying attention to the pre-order bonuses for this game? Because they are all over the place. If you
I've
pre-order
never
it,
gotten a pre-order bonus in my life. I mean, I think I actually that's not true. I have a 3D World plus Bowser's Fury poster sitting in my like back there somewhere. It's like it's not that big, it's not that high quality. It's just like okay. I I don't understand pre-order bonus, man. That's just not my kind of thing.
I like free swag if possible,
Yes.
but the pre-order bonuses for this game are all over the place. So the Target one they just announced, which is weird to announce 2 weeks before the game comes out, but they announced just like they call it the Adventure Hit Pack. It's just a fanny pack. It was like the little designs on. I don't know. It's kind of fun. But on Amazon Japan, there's a fork and a spoon that say
Oh,
Tears of
I
the
did
Kingdom
hear
one,
about that.
which is
I did hear
hilarious.
about that.
Um,
That's so funny.
then GameStop gives you like a wooden. It's just a slab of wood. Like it's
What?
just a slab of wood that has like some Zelda etchings on it, which is
Huh.
once again kind of cool. I was looking at Mercari; it's selling for like $50 already. I don't know
Hmm. Hmm.
why. Um,
Interesting.
and then I think it's Best Buy's doing like an art print, and Walmart's doing a wall scroll. So a nice
Yeah.
variety of pre-order bonuses. I already have mine pre-ordered at Best Buy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that.
But if you're a true Zelda fan, you got to get them all.
You got to
So
collect them
you
all.
got to either pre-order the game at Target, Best Buy,
Amazon
Amazon. I don't even remember
Japan.
the other things, but and then, or if not, find people reselling their free shit that they got that they don't want because probably most people don't want the free shit that comes with this on a reselling service. And then boom, there you go, true Zelda fan. Bo, I expect you to have all of them. I expect you to
I
have the fork and spoon. I expect us to have a BoTalksGames
I mean
mukbang
I
with
eat my
the Zelda
cereal.
fork and
Yeah.
spoon. Yeah, yeah.
There was for Fire Emblem Engage, GameStop gave out. I didn't open them because why would I open them? But
Mhm.
they're I think they're still for like $40 still. There's like a deck of tarot cards with all the characters on them with like the
Huh.
really cool like Fire Emblem
Hmm.
Engage art. So
Yeah.
sometimes the
Cool.
proto bonuses are kind of cool, like something that would be in like a special edition or something.
Mhm.
All right, we have a trio of third-party news here.
Oh.
Biomutant is coming to Switch on November 30th, 2023.
Wahoo.
Why?
I
What?
ca-
What? What? Okay, so if you don't know Biomutant, this is the game. This is THQ Nordic, or I guess it's Embracer now.
Yeah.
Developer 101. This came out on other platforms back in 2021, and
Yes.
before that, it was announced like 5 years before that, even because it got delayed a bunch of times. I always thought this looked cute, but then when it came out, people just said it sucked.
Yeah. Or I heard mixed things about it, but honestly, when it comes to games that come out and are mixed like that and don't take the world by storm, it's very interesting when you later find out that they're still working on these things. And I think, trying to fix it, trying to improve it, trying to add more content. But a new console version of a game that maybe sold well. Do you want to pull up see if you can find Biomutant sales numbers? Because I honestly have not heard about this game since like the week it came out. And frankly, that's how a lot of third-party multiplayer-focused games are. Is you hear about them in a couple ways. You hear about them when they're announced, and you're like, okay, yay, another like live service slash open world slash multiplayer slash MMO, like a litany of different factors. Game, that's fine. Everyone forgets about it. Game comes out. It's okay. People play it for a week. Then it goes dead silent. And then when it's about to die, people start talking about it again. And that was how I expected a Biomutant to be. Frankly, when you said the word Biomutant, I was like, oh, is Biomutant going down? Oh no, it doesn't really upset me too much. But like, I'm surprised to hear it coming to another console because maybe that means they've got like a more
Franchise
substantial
plans.
plan for it, or yeah, or making other games in that series with those characters. I just know there's like a
Those
rabbit raccoon
characters? Question
guy
mark? Yeah.
with like a sword, maybe.
Yeah, there's
I
little
don't know.
little biomutants. To answer your little question there though, as of August 2021, the game has sold 1 million units. So
Okay,
probably not great. I guess I don't know how
probably
big the
below
budget
what they were
was.
wanting.
Right, but then again, that was only 3 months after launch, so
Sure.
maybe
Oh,
maybe
okay,
maybe it's
sure.
close to like 1.5. I can't imagine
Yeah,
it's still too much
yeah.
more after that. But yeah, cool to see. I don't know. It feels a little late. Maybe if it happened last year, it'd make a little bit more
Hmm.
sense. But
Yeah. Well, this is actually the one of the only recent like quote unquote major third party games that I've heard announced for Switch in a long time, and we haven't been getting those kind of ports. But there was one recently. I think maybe you even have this on here. That the was it? There's some Switch port that was supposed to be happening that is just like quietly been canceled by whatever. I saw it yesterday. I
yeah,
can't remember which
we
game it
there
is.
we'll talk about that. We'll talk
Okay,
about that in
okay,
a second.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the stories I'm used to hearing from major third party games on
Yeah.
Switch. Not,
Well, yeah,
hey,
because back in
2 year old game no one cares about is actually coming to Switch 2 years
back
late.
in like 2019, it was like, oh, Witcher 3's happening, and
Yes.
oh, Overwatch is coming,
Doom,
and Doom, yeah.
Wolfenstein.
So, it's been. I feel like that kind of third party support has kind of dried up.
But now
But
we got Biomutant. Hell
we're,
yeah.
we're getting Biomutant, the biggest game of all time,
Oh,
quadruple A
Nintendo
game.
Switch.
But in other third party news, the Lara Croft collection has been unofficially, or sorry, not unofficially, officially. This is real. Officially rated by the ESRB for the Nintendo Switch. Now,
Oh.
don't get too excited. This is
Hmm.
not your mainline Tomb Raider games, which would actually be kind
Hmm.
of cool. Although I have heard good things about these games. These are the Lara Croft spin-offs, Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, and Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris. So like top-down kind of isometric games, I
Oh,
believe.
interesting.
So yeah,
Yeah.
these were rated by the ESRB. They have not been announced.
Hmm.
Well, this is weird. Okay, so yeah, here I'm reading through Go Nintendo's article here. Late last year, Feral Interactive announced that the Switch releases of Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light and Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris would be delayed until 2023. Okay, so I guess they were announced. Maybe just like soft announced. But
Soft announced, and they were announced, but did anyone hear about it? Did anyone care? I mean, frankly, I'm someone who's pretty tuned in to gaming news. I didn't
it's
I
just like
didn't hear
why
about
these
this.
games?
Yeah.
At least give
Well,
us the first Tomb Raider reboot, right? Maybe not a whole
yeah.
collection, but
Or the even older games than that, like, but people love having portable Switch versions of older games, and there's a lot of older Tomb Raider games, and I know this from a very personal angle because when I was really into buying games that were from classic franchises to play at some point, one of my most notorious to me purchases was seeing the Tomb Raider collection on Steam for like, I don't know, 25, $30. And it was every Tomb Raider game up to that point. And I clicked buy, and I've never played any of them.
yeah, I've never
So
played a
in
Tomb
my
Raider game.
Steam library, you see in the T section and the L section just like
Every
20
game.
fucking games. And it's like, I'm probably not ever gonna play those. The only Tomb Raider games I played is I played the first reboot, and I actually liked that. I beat that, and I played probably 45 minutes of Tomb Raider 1 on an actual PS1 because I have that disc. Um, and I played that like 6 years ago, and I was like, old game clunky, not fun to play,
Old
so I put
game
it down.
clunky, not fun to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only Tomb Raider game I've beaten is Uncharted. So all right.
Oh, Uncharted.
So this is the thing you were thinking of. Next up, here we have that Marvel's Midnight Suns
That
has
was it.
been
Yeah.
canceled for the Nintendo
Yeah.
Switch. After numerous delays and setbacks, reading through Go Nintendo once again, 2K has unceremoniously canceled the Switch version of Marvel's Midnight Suns. So they put out a new press release for the game a couple days ago, talking about an update coming to PS4 and Xbox One versions. But in the middle of that press release, they snuck this in here. Quotes, note that a Nintendo Switch version of Marvel's Midnight Suns is no longer planned. Because originally it was supposed to launch alongside the other versions, and now
Yeah.
it's just not happening. They haven't explained any further. They just said it's not happening.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a good sign, or a bad sign, a sign of things to come when it comes to third party
Mm,
content on the
yeah,
Switch,
yeah.
and it makes me wonder Hogwarts Legacy probably getting canceled on
Ooh,
Switch. I
that
would
was that's such
assume.
a funny one because when they announced that, are you serious?
No, it doesn't make
Like,
any sense. The game
how?
I've heard the game doesn't run great on PS5.
Yeah, yeah.
So do make of
That's so
that what
funny.
you will.
So funny.
That'll probably get canceled.
Yeah.
Not that I think most people at this point care. So,
No.
all right. So yeah, that's all. That's all third party news. I like people say, "Oh, you're gonna do a Nintendo podcast. You're only gonna talk about Nintendo stuff." No, I will talk about third party stuff that I think is
Yeah.
interesting. Do I
Third
think
party Nintendo adjacent things.
right? Do I think Lara Croft collection is interesting? Absolutely not. But I figured I
No.
might as well include it anyway.
Hey, we got a story about me buying all the goddamn Lara Croft Tomb Raider games.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, oh, actually, on another tangent, I just watched the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movies 2 weeks ago with my friends,
They great.
and I thought the first one was so much fun. I thought it was awesome. The action is crazy. The plot doesn't make any sense, but I thought it was really charming and it had a ton of energy. And the second one just fucking sucks. That's just a bad movie. Like it's just lame. It takes out all there's like barely any good action sequences. They try to like put like a political edge into it. Like they make her to like a spy. It's like, what are you doing? I think she only wasn't like half a tomb in that
A
second movie. It's like,
half
what
of
the
a
hell?
tomb.
Yeah, and I have not seen the Alicia Vikander one from 2018, but I will get to that eventually. I'm
Yeah.
not a huge Tomb Raider fan, but I like Angelina Jolie, and I like dumb old movies, so
Just like movies. Yeah, I
watched
was gonna say.
I watched Tomb Raider.
All right. Next up,
Recommend that one for me.
the composer, a huge big name composer over at Nintendo, has left the company. Ryo Nagamatsu. This is the composer for. Let me just read through some of these games here, and I don't know if he actually just. I don't think he composed like the entire game, but he
Yeah.
definitely worked on these games in a big way. Nintendo Land, love that. Wii Sports Resort, A Link Between Worlds, Link's Awakening on Switch, Splatoon 2 and 3, Mario Galaxy 2, and Mario Kart 8. He
Wow.
said, quote, when talking about leaving, I have made a decision to leave the company as of April 30th, 2023. I will work a little wider and more directly to help those who need my help and to help the industry. Thank you all for your kind support. I look forward to serve you in the future. And in parentheses here, it says an amicable settlement. So no bad blood between Nintendo. I guess he was just ready to
Yeah.
move on. But
Yeah.
losing out of all those games, Tucker, the one that really speaks out to me is Splatoon 2 and 3. Because
Yeah.
Splatoon 2 and 3 Splatoon has its
Very
own
distinct.
genre of music.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 and Galaxy 2 and Link's Awakening, these all have fantastic soundtracks. We're actually going to
Phenomenal
talk about
soundtracks. Yeah.
soundtracks later when we get to the listener questions. But if this guy had a lot to do with Splatoon's sound, like
Yeah.
sound font, let's call it,
Sure.
losing him is a pretty big deal. So what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, well, so I saw that list of games. And I was interested to see if he was the primary composer on these, or if he was just in some sort of support role or something. And started typing in his name to Google, and the first thing that comes up is Coconut Mall, song by Ryo Nagamatsu. So this guy has
Oh,
some
okay.
big element. Obviously, we already knew that he was a prime composer
I
as well.
figured
We're
he was
writing an
probably
article
the
about this,
primary composer for most of these games.
but that is, I mean,
That's a
that's a great
history right
song.
there. That's a history right there.
Coconut Mall's a great song, but I also love the soundtracks to some of these games. So I guess in some way, it's sort of sad to see this kind of talent that has been so widespread across Nintendo. I think that is especially very impressive for this guy's discography. Is that he's not just a Splatoon composer or just a Zelda composer or just a Mario composer. He obviously he's got his grubby little fingers and everything. Um, but he's got range. The man got range because those are all great scores. But honestly, I don't know if I have ever listened to a bad Nintendo soundtrack. I know people shit on like Yoshi's Island DS, but I haven't played that. And
Yoshi's
like
New Island's really. I think
Crafted
I
World.
think
Oh, New
Island
Island. Sorry,
DS. Yeah, New Island's
that
bad.
yeah, that was the one. But like Nintendo games just have great soundtracks across the board. So I'm like, look, losing this guy is a little bit sad, but I'm sure it's what's right for him. And Nintendo's got a whole host of other composers that make amazing soundtracks for their games. So let this guy go off and lend his talents to a whole other genre of games. All sorts of other games can use this kind of talent. So, and especially because, I mean, we're Nintendo fans. Nintendo soundtracks, they have a step above what the rest of the industry is doing. And so, if we got a Nintendo composer lending his talents to other games, let that Nintendo magic and love sort of seep across the industry. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, let's go ahead and wrap in this listener question because
Yeah,
it's
I was
related.
just thinking we should do
Yeah,
that.
so Morally Gray Benpai in the server, they asked us last week, but didn't get to it, so we're getting into it now. Sorry, Benpai. He said, "What is your favorite Nintendo soundtrack other than Smash? Because that's essentially a greatest hits album." So here's the thing with me, I don't like just listen to video game music
Oh, I
outside.
do. I do.
I don't do this, but I love video game music. I just don't.
Yeah.
For me, the context of what's happening in the game is important. So
Yeah,
usually,
absolutely.
if the music is hitting during like a specific moment, like a touching story beat or something, which to be fair, most Nintendo games don't have those touching story beats. To be honest,
Yeah.
then
Xenoblade.
well, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Obviously, I was gonna say Xenoblade, specifically Xenoblade 2 and 3, but even Xenoblade
Yeah.
1. We're gonna
Yeah.
talk about Future Redeem when we get to what we're playing. Yeah, Xenoblade soundtracks are they're really a cut above the rest, honestly.
Yeah.
And that it's one of the few soundtracks I will listen to. This isn't Nintendo, but I would say my favorite video game soundtrack of all time is probably Bastion from
Ooh,
Supergiant.
interesting pick.
But
Yeah, very
I
unique.
right, I love Supergiant and what they do. I've only
Yeah.
beaten Bastion and Hades, but
You haven't?
I've only beaten those two.
Oh, okay. So
I haven't played
actually, same
Transistor.
here.
I haven't
Yeah,
played
no, I
Transistor.
haven't played either. I love Bash and Hades are some of my favorite games of all
Me
time.
too.
God, every time I think about Hades, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I was so addicted to that game.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
but yeah, I don't know. For me, it's hard, and I listen to those on Spotify. Like I just have them in my
Yeah.
regular playlist because, and I don't know if this makes me like a normie, but it's because they have
Mhm.
lyrics. If a song doesn't have lyrics, I'm just kind of
Oh.
like,
Hmm.
eh. And to be
Yeah.
fair, a lot of Bastion and Hades they don't, and I still
Hmm.
listen to those songs too because
What about
association.
Splatoon?
I'm not listening.
Pew-pew-pow,
I love hey I love Splatoon soundtrack too.
So do I. So do I.
It's fun, but yeah. And if I had to pick a favorite Nintendo game, it'd probably just be Xenoblade 2. What about you?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. He talked about, oh, there's not any Pokemon news, so when is Tucker going to really come alive on this? He's a
Please
big
say it.
Nintendo
Please say
fan.
the right game. Please say
No,
the right Pokemon game.
hold on. Well, hold on. All right. I love video game music. And this is a very important thing to sort of establish as me, as a person, as a video game player and enjoyer. I don't listen to much music in general. My friends make fun of me every time I see them because I could probably name like, Justin Bieber and Drake and like, I don't know, Beatles. Of course, I know more artists than that, but I don't listen to their music. And frankly, I can't name most of the popular bands currently or the artists or what's going on in actual not video game or film music. But when it comes to video game and film music, I'm really obsessed with that. I have a video game music playlist that I have been curating my favorite songs from since I was in sixth grade. So it's been almost a decade at this point. And I listen to video game music constantly. It's basically only music that I listen to consistently, and so I've got a whole litany of games that I just adore the soundtracks from. And yeah, I gotta agree with you. Off the bat, Xenoblade 2, one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. I think the Argentum Trade Guild might be my favorite video game song of all time. I was playing that game with my brother in the room when I was first playing it in like early 2018, and I'm like, holy shit, this song is awesome. And we would start singing it randomly together. I have such nostalgic memories attached to the whole soundtrack of that game. But my interest spans a whole bunch of different games. I mean, for me, Pokemon is the core of not only why I like video games, as I'll share probably in the future as we talk more about Pokemon, but also why I love video game music because playing Pokemon Pro was my very first video game, and the soundtrack for that game is just amazing. I mean, it's fantastic. And I have such nostalgia attached to all the songs in that soundtrack, and it spans most of the series. Um, Gen 3, the Hoenn games, those have fantastic soundtracks. I love the X and Y soundtrack. I think very underrated. Sun and Moon also has a really unique tropical soundtrack. And the only one I don't like is Gen 8, Sword and Shield.
Okay, dude,
The Sword and Shield soundtrack.
you're skipping Black and White, and I'm like, what are you
Oh, no,
doing?
Black and White has a great soundtrack
No,
as well. Yeah, yeah.
Black and White was almost gonna be my pick for favorite soundtrack. I
Yeah.
think that's definitely my favorite
Sure.
Pokemon soundtrack. If you want like a good chip tune, oh my
Mhm.
god,
Yeah.
the Driftville City theme. Oh, dude, so good, so
Yeah.
good.
But I've got a whole host of video game ones. Just to touch on a little more Nintendo stuff. I love Mario soundtracks. I mean, I know it's not a hot take necessarily, but Jesus
Good
Christ, when
vibes.
Gusty Gardens Galaxy hits, I lose my goddamn mind. Or when you're sliding down that wire and you pop out and you land on the ground and New Donk City's like da 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 da. I'm like, this is magic, baby.
When Nintendo
3D
brings out the
World,
saxophone, you know they are not fucking
boy.
around. So
Oh
Mario
my god,
Mario
boy.
Kart 8, crazy. Tears of the
Yeah,
Kingdom, I think the most recent
yeah,
trailer, there was a
yeah.
saxophone that just they start going
That
crazy.
saxophone, like,
That's how you
I'm getting
know they
goosebumps
cook.
thinking about this. Yeah. Um, but also, I mean, outside of Nintendo, there's still plenty. Plenty of games that I love the soundtracks for. The Ori games. Oh man, Gareth Coker knows what he's doing. Cuphead. Now that's a jazz soundtrack. The banjo score. Wind Waker. I love the Wind Waker soundtrack. I would listen to the Persona 5 soundtrack when I was taking showers in the public dorm bathroom in freshman year. Katamari. I love the Katamari soundtrack. Bloodborne. Final Fantasy 6. Vib Ribbon. Very specific
Vib
style on
Ribbon.
that one, but I love Vib Ribbon. I like some Sonic music. I'm not the biggest Sonic fan. I've played a lot of Sonic games, but I love the music for those games. Splatoon. I, I just I adore video game music, and I listen to it constantly. So this is something I'm very, very passionate about.
Well, see, this is great because listen, I have nothing against video game music. I just don't listen to it like that. I
Yeah,
listen to it in the
yeah.
context of me playing the game, and usually that's it. So here I have you to bounce off of now. You'll remember what's the Xenoblade 2 song? Is it Drifting Souls? It's the at the end of chapter 3. It's like yeah, it's good. It's
I
good.
most I when I am going back to soundtracks, for me, it's not necessarily those emotional moments in the music with them that sticks with me. It's the songs that play in areas that I spent a lot of time in. So I mean, primarily I think of some of the early songs in Diamond and Pearl that I spent hours in because I was a stupid little kid and I couldn't like get past certain battles or like areas. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I mean, Jubilife City, Route 201, San Jim Town, Twin Leaf Town. Like these songs are seared into my psyche because I spent so much time there. And same with Xenoblade 2. I mean, I explored every nook and cranny of Organtum Trade Guild, and Gormod, and oh god, it's got a funny name. Oh, Alba Kavanich. What? It's a town in Xenoblade 2. I can't remember, but some of these towns that I just spent so much time in, or areas of like exploration that I spent so much time in. Those are the songs that really stick with me, not necessarily ones that are playing at certain points in the story.
Sure. One last thing on the soundtrack. One specific song. The Jubilife Village music
Yeah.
from Pokemon
Ooh.
Legends Arceus. I
Yeah.
remember when I was
Yeah.
playing that game. It's like the one song you just constantly hear. And
True.
when I put
Yeah.
100 hours into that game in like 2 weeks, I was getting kind of tired of it.
Hmm.
But it's a it's a weird feeling because like I'm nostalgic for that now. That game was only a
Yeah.
year ago, but I'm nostalgic for that song in a way.
Well, it's also like,
Because they shoved it down my throat.
yeah, it's also like 50% based off of Jubilife
Sure,
City.
sure. It was they had a
So
base to work on, but just like that,
yeah,
yeah, good stuff. Video game
yeah.
music's awesome,
It
especially
is awesome.
Nintendo video game
So I was
music.
right.
Seemingly,
Alba Kavanich, in Morordain.
oh, it's in
It's a big
Moradane.
city.
Okay, I would
Yeah.
have. I just think of that place as Moradane. That makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Gotcha.
I guess that's yeah. Okay, cool. All right, we have two pieces of movie related stuff, and then of course we'll have a big topic when we get to the major news that Nintendo's like promise Tucker made last podcast did come true. But
Yep.
and I guess this kind of goes in with the main story, but it seems as though the physical release for the Mario Bros. Movie may be being delayed.
Mm.
So originally it was supposed to arrive on June 6th, 2023, which I'm not sure how fast that's. I feel like that's probably normal pace, about 2 months, right?
Yeah, 2 months,
Um,
60 days. Yeah.
but it now sounds like it is coming out on July 1st, 2023. So a little less than a month delay. Tucker, without getting into our major news topic about the Mario movie, do you think this is because they want to hit more record?
Yeah, they want to make more money at the box
They
office,
realize they
and
can.
more money comes from more people seeing it in theaters than a relatively select few buying it on physical media. Of course, there will be plenty of people who do that, but especially once the movie comes to be available to purchase or rent on iTunes or streaming on some service. What does Universal have? What do they send their movies? I don't even know.
That Peacock?
People will obviously watch it on there more frequently than buying it, but yeah, I mean, this is just a sign that the movie is doing well because you can actually track a film's release on streaming or on PVOD, which is on-demand rental, or on physical media. to how well or bad it's doing, because a movie like rest in peace Shazam Fury of the Gods, that movie came to HBO Max like a month after it released. Like, oh man, that's not a good sign. They're just trying to get people to remember about this. But obviously, people are caring a lot about the Mario movie, so they're like, we don't need to release the physical version of this movie. Same with Top Gun Maverick. That movie didn't get a physical release until like 8 or 9 months after it came out, which is crazy. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think Way of Water hasn't even gotten its
I don't think it has.
physical release yet. So obviously, if you're noticing a trend, movies that make a lot of money, they don't put the physical version out for a long time to sort of build that anticipation. I mean, people went crazy when the Top Gun Maverick physical edition was released. So they really know what they're doing, and this is just a good sign, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know if I'll buy it in 4K or just rent it or something. I do want to watch it again at home.
Yeah.
All right, next thing here. Neil Blomkamp,
Yep.
the film director and screenwriter for District 9, Elysium, and Chappie, Tucker, I'm assuming
Hmm.
you're familiar with these movies,
Yes, I've seen all of them.
has said he is interested, in working on a Metroid movie. So someone just asked him on Twitter, "Hey, would you want to do this?" And he just said yes.
Yeah.
So I actually have not seen any of these movies. District 9 is something I've always wanted to watch, but I
Yeah.
remember I remember my mom bought it for my brother when I was like 10 or something, and I was like, "Oh, that looks cool," and then I just never watched it. But
That's a weird movie to get for like a kid slash
it was for
teenager
my
because
older
it's just,
brother. Well, I guess he probably would have been like 16, maybe
yeah.
17.
Still, I mean, kind of weird. It's like a like political allegory movie.
I don't
I
know.
love
I don't
District
know. I
Nine.
don't know. I don't know, man.
It's basically about like racism and apartheid in South Africa, like through the guise of aliens. It very weird movie to get for a kid, but great pick. I mean, your brother's got taste, so
Yeah.
uh, this is not gonna happen.
No, no, of
There's
course
no
not.
way.
People always say like,
No,
"Oh, they should get Brie Larson for Samus. Oh, they should get this person to make this movie." I mean, it's all pipe dream stuff. Do you think this would make a good choice though?
no Blomkamp. Well, really, District 9 is the only movie of his that I have any like particular fondness for. The other ones kind of just feel like generic sci-fi films to me. Um, Chappie and Elysium are like notoriously kind of cult classic
Yeah,
bad
I
movies.
know people
Um,
like Chappie at least, right?
yeah.
In some
Um,
capacity.
but I don't know if Neil Blomkamp is a distinct enough creative voice um to make it really special, but I also think that he's maybe too big of a name for Nintendo to want to work with, because Nintendo, especially with what they did controlling the creation of the Mario movie, wants to work with people that they can have control over, so it's ostensibly them making the movie and not like, I don't know, Wes Anderson making a Wes Anderson looking ass, feeling ass Nintendo movie. I think they want to stay away from strong independent creatives so that they can make the films fit their goal of what films should be. And frankly, I think that's okay. I mean, I'm all for creative freedom in most cases, but Nintendo's direction and their creative direction for these films, I think, kind of supersedes anyone trying to make a film their own. The Mario movie doesn't feel like anything but a Nintendo movie. I mean, it kind of feels like an Illumination movie, but if Illumination had more control, you know that there would be like way more toads waving their asses around like the minions do. So it's a good thing that Nintendo stepped in, and I want them to step in for the creation of their other films as well, because that's what made this film successful. Is it feels distinct from other movies because a not movie company was the one leading the charge on it.
Yeah, there's definitely parts of the Mario movie that you can tell Illumination did. I'm
Mhm.
specifically referring to the scene with the dog. That was obviously Illumination in the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yes,
That one scene
absolutely.
really
Felt out of
stands out.
place.
Yeah, it feels
Yeah,
very because it's just an Illumination joke scene.
yeah. The dog like furrows its brow and is like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
he's like,
I'll get you."
I'm gonna get
That's
you.
so weird.
It was
Don't like
so
that
it was
scene.
so out of place, dude. I remember I
Yeah,
was watching
yeah,
it in theater. I was like, what is that? This does not feel right.
yeah. They like go into the house of like that rich couple, and they just like they're people that walked off the set of Despicable Me, and you're like, "Oh God."
Yeah. All right, we have two sales updates for two franchises, one small and one big. Little Nightmares from Tarsier Studios
Mm.
and published by Bandai Namco has passed 12 million sold copies between both its games. That's
Thank
crazy.
God.
I,
That's
I I've
great. Yeah,
always wanted to play Little Nightmares. I love games like Limbo and
yeah, yeah.
Inside. So this always looked interesting to me. I haven't gotten around to it, but that's really strong. I feel like I know Bandai Namco, like a big publisher, is behind it, but 12 million. I mean, it's two games, so 6 million per game. Let's just say it's probably not
Yeah,
quite
I'd
like
say
that.
probably the first game sold a little bit better, so
Sure, yeah.
I would skew it to like maybe 8 and 4. I don't know.
Either way, that I mean, these are really good numbers. Obviously,
Yeah.
Bandai Namco's going to keep working with the studio and
Mhm.
either get a Little Nightmares 3 or more. But have you played? Are you a Little
I never
Nightmares
finished
fan?
the first one. I played a little bit of it. But they're also the first one especially. I actually don't know much about the second one. Frankly, I didn't hear too many people talk about it when it came out. But except for it's probably good. I mean, I'm sure it's got a good open critic, Metacritic. But yeah, I would love to play those games. I've always thought they seem pretty interesting. I'm very into horror films and to some extent horror games, mostly Resident Evil. And I do like Limbo and Inside, not to the degree that most people do, but I've always thought they looked interesting. And I mean, you just saying those numbers, like holy shit! Like we were just talking about like Amazon maybe being okay with Biomutant or not Amazon, whoever Embracer, I guess,
Embracer, yeah.
um, being like okay with 1.5 million for Biomutant, a game that probably cost like 100 plus times what Little Nightmares did, and this has sold way more. I love indie games, man, and I'm really excited to get some indie games for us to talk about that are coming to Switch on this podcast because I think that can also like sort of widen our breadth of games that we're like talking about in depth. And Little Nightmares is one of the iconic indie games of the last few years. So yeah, good on you. That's awesome. I did not
Yeah.
know they were that popular.
That's why I'm going to give them a shout out here because I think that's
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
that's a fun story. But in other sales news, Tucker, this is crazy to me. I know I don't think you know what's going on here. So
Uh-oh.
last month, Capcom released the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy
Oh,
Collection,
I did hear about this.
Volume 1 and 2.
Yeah, yeah.
It has already sold over 1 million copies, which is insane. It's a great collection of games. I mean, it has every Battle Network game, I believe, and it's $60 for all of them, that's a great value because these are long games.
Yeah.
The crazy part, Tucker, this was reported on April 28th. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's already done this or it's close to doing it. It's going to become the best-selling Mega Man game of all time. Can you believe that?
What?
Right now, the current best-selling Mega Man game is Mega Man 11, which as of November 3rd, 2022 had hit 1.6 million copies.
Mm,
This game's going to cover that easily.
yeah.
If it did 1 million in like 3 weeks, I never had I've seen people like that are like really diehard Battle Network fans, but I've never seen to this extent people just
No, absolutely
clamoring
not.
for Battle Network. I've always seen people clamoring for X, ZX,
Yeah.
even stuff like
Well, they have all those.
I think Star yeah, they already did those. I think Star Force is like Battle Network. I'm not too
I'm not
familiar with
sure.
the
Yeah.
Mega Man spinoffs. I love classic NES Mega Man, but
Yeah.
this is crazy, man. It's funny because like I want to say this means they're gonna make a new Battle Network game and more Mega Man stuff, but that's what we thought Mega Man 11 meant, which
Yeah.
was the best-selling 2D Mega Man game, and then they didn't do anything.
Mhm.
Granted, that was still, I mean, that was 5 years ago almost. Never mind.
Yeah, it's
I
a
was
long
gonna say
time ago.
they maybe should have had one out by now, but yeah, I'll be curious to see what Capcom does next. I guess a Mega Man Legends collection would probably be the most logical thing because they haven't done that.
Sure.
But outside of
Yeah, I
that,
guess so.
they've done pretty much every collection they can now.
Yeah. Mega Man Soccer,
Yeah.
the DOS games brought to Xbox Series S running
Yeah, I
4K.
think like the original Game Boy games. I don't know if those are on any collection.
Those are
Those are
on
different.
not
They're
the Game Boy ones. The Genesis ones, the Wily Wars is on Genesis Online. That's what I was thinking about. You may
they could do
they're,
like
they're
a
not
they
going
could
to
do
sell those separately though.
well yeah they could do like another classic collection where it's the original Game Boy games. I think there's two
Yeah.
Mega Man. Is it Extreme games on Game Boy Color, and then
Could
like
not tell
Wily
you.
Wars and just so like the soccer games, just like a miscellaneous collection or something.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, this is
Capcom
crazy.
doing good with these collections. It's nice to see the renaissance Capcom's had with its AAA development with Resident Evil and Monster Hunter and Street Fighter and
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously, but also these like little ones for the smaller franchises they have. Obviously, it sucks for us to be referring to Mega Man as a small franchise, but it is comparatively.
Hmm. Yeah.
So good stuff. I
I-
like seeing
This
this.
this brings up so many weird things in my mind. A, wow, so good for Battle Network. I mean, I agree with you. I did not hear this kind of clamoring for this, and so awesome for Battle Network. Um, but then there's like two things that like put a weird damper on that in my mind. It's like 1. I did not know that the highest selling Mega Man game
It's
was not even
low.
at 2 million
I know it's
copies.
low.
That's a presumed third of what Little Nightmares has sold. But Mega Man's one of the biggest, like most prolific at least video game franchises of all time.
It's the Metroid effect, dude. It's people like us that just assume it's a big
What the
deal, but
heck?
it isn't.
Well, I mean, but I'm just trying to think. Like back in the day, what justified them to make so many goddamn Mega Man games? Like these were selling on par, if not less than like most games were at the period of time that they were coming out. because obviously the highest selling one now is still only at 1.6 million. So like, why'd they make all these spin-offs? Why'd they make a ton of core games and then a ton of X games and a ton of ZX games and a ton of I've played Mega Man 1 through 4, and I like those games. I'm not like a huge fan of them, but I'd like to work my way continuing through those classic ones and get to the X ones at some point. Um, but I I thought Mega Man was bigger than this. I'm not gonna lie. This is like
Yeah,
it's like really seriously.
yeah, it is surprising because I don't have the sales data up for like the NES Mega Man games or Mega Man X,
Yeah.
but it's just weird to see Battle Network coming out
Yes.
strong like this. So
Yeah.
definitely good news if you're a Mega Man fan. It might take a while for Capcom to actually act on this, but this is nothing but good news for the franchise and the future of
Yeah.
it. So really exciting stuff. That is gonna do it for our quick news topics, Tucker. Let's get into what we're playing. Now, last week I started, so I'm gonna force you to start because I did see you were playing one game. It's not a Nintendo game.
No, I played multiple games, and I did play a
Okay,
Nintendo game.
okay, well lay it on me.
Don't
Let's
disturb me.
go through you. Yeah.
Uh, let's talk about the Nintendo game that I played. I was thinking about last week how I didn't have very much to bring up in terms of what I had been playing, and I'm like, all right, I gotta put in a little effort this week. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, Tears of the Kingdom's only at the time like 10 days away. I'm like, woof, there's not many games that like I really want to sink a bunch of time into that I want to have to either rush through or cut off by the time that Zelda comes out because frankly that takes priority. And as I think I might have mentioned last week or the week before, I was playing Red Dead, but I don't want to get back into Red Dead and have to stop Red Dead to play Zelda because that would just be not fair to Red Dead and probably not fair to Zelda because then I'd have like open world games to play. So I'm like, all right, what's the exact opposite of an open world game? What is the fastest game that I can beat? That would give me a little bit of Nintendo charm, ease me back in to playing video games consistently. And I pulled out my Nintendo 3DS with an R4 card in it, and I scrolled through my R4 card. I'm like, boom, WarioWare Touched. I played WarioWare Touch all the way through. Game's only about an hour and 15 minutes long. It was just an about average length for especially that era of WarioWare games. And I'm not the biggest WarioWare fan. I'm actually a relatively new WarioWare fan. The first WarioWare game that I played was Get It Together. So that obviously frames my experience in a little bit different light. But since then, I've gone back and played. Well, I played. Oh God, what was the DSi one? Snapped. WarioWare Snapped.
Why'd
I
you play
played
that
that.
one?
That game fucking sucks. Well, I bought it on the 3DS eShop. It was
Oh,
going down, and I'm like, eh, it's a first
so
party
random.
DSi where Nintendo game. That's a bad game. And I played Mega Micro Games, the first one, which I think is a fantastic game, and one of the most iconic backlog banter videos is me and Abram playing Warrior Smooth Moves together on Wii. And I
You
recorded it
sped it
and
up.
sped it up as much as so. I,
It's
I
iconic
love that
video.
video.
Yeah.
But so I have played a good amount. That's over half of the WarioWare games, and so getting to Touched, I was really interested to see what the first like super gimmicky, or I guess Twisted might have been a little also gimmicky. I have not played that one. That one's way harder to access and also costs a lot if you want to get a physical copy of that game. Um, Playing a DS WarioWare game, I was very interested to see what it was like. And I liked it. I think it's a good game, but I think that my problem with it and the why I don't think it stands up to my favorites in the series, which are Mega Micro Games and Get It Together, is that the gimmick of only using the touch screen makes the game feel very limited. And of course, WarioWare games by their very nature are pretty limited. It's a micro game, it's one small action, but the DS has a lot of tech. It's got a lot of different things going on. It has it has two screens. It has the touch screen. It has a microphone. It has a whole host of buttons. But it also has a gyro. I think does the DS have gyro? No, no.
No, the 3DS
No.
does.
Okay, okay. Sorry, scratch that part. But WarioWare Touch basically only uses the touch screen, and because of that, the micro games end up feeling really samey. Either you're poking the screen, you're swiping, or you're scribbling, I guess, which are all basically the same action. And so, um, I didn't find the gameplay loop of WarioWare Touched to be as compelling as some of the other ones because I felt like it was lacking a little bit of variety in those micro games. After playing an hour's worth and having to replay a couple of the micro games a couple times because they have these sort of like compilation levels. It's like, okay, we're gonna take like a couple from Wario's level, a couple from Mona's level, a couple from Kragor's level, and like smash them together. I was like, yeah, I know what to do, and I'm not surprised at what they're doing with this, which I think is just why I'm like it's a good game, but I'm just like a little bit disappointed in it because the DS can do so much more, but they strung themselves into early DS game. This got to be a touchscreen focused game, and if they had let themselves be a little bit wider outside of that and included the buttons, I think they do use the microphone though very sparingly. Um, then I think it could have been a robust game with a little more variety in terms of how you're interacting with these micro games. But as it stands, it's a good game. It's got that WarioWare charm, very quick levels, obviously very quick micro games. But I do think that it could have been better if they let themselves sort of like expand to the whole tech of the DS rather than just the touchscreen.
Yeah, I never played touched, but not having microphone stuff in there seems
No,
it's. I
they
mean,
did. They very limited, but
okay,
they did.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never played touched. If you want more WarioWare, Tucker, you didn't mention this one. Play WarioWare Gold. It's the best
Oh
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the best
Well,
one for sure.
I'll have to find a copy of that now because I
You just
can't
said you
get
have
it
an
on the.
R4 card, bro.
That doesn't. That's only for
Oh,
DS games. There's a whole
it's only.
3DS game.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
My bad, my bad. Yeah,
Um.
get your hands on a copy of WarioWare Gold. That's definitely the best one. Also,
Yeah.
if you haven't played Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, also on
I
3DS.
played a little bit of that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
played a little bit of that.
fantastic. Well, what else have you been playing? You're supposed Tucker. I'm gonna scold you on the podcast right now. You're supposed to write it down on a document so I
Oh,
know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Shit. Well,
What
I'd
else?
like to
What else have you
surprise
been
you.
playing? What else have you been
I'd like to
playing?
surprise you. So you talked a little bit about Minecraft Dungeons, and I was like,
Did you play
oh, really?
Minecraft Dungeons?
And I was like, "Oh, really? Oh!" And you told me that like, "Oh, you can beat it in 6 hours." And obviously, I knew Game Pass, Minecraft, sort of Diablo like dungeon crawler. I'm like, look, I'll give it a try. I have not played a dungeon crawler like this before, but I played probably about 4.5 hours of
You're
Minecraft
probably
Dungeons,
close then.
and well, maybe I
Depends on how
can't
much you do.
tell
You
though.
just have to do one of each level because they have like
One
all the
of each
different.
level.
They have all the different difficulty scalings. You just need to get to the end of the map basically. So just
Okay.
keep going through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then maybe I'll return to it this week and finish it off. But as it stands, I think it's I think it's fine, but maybe it's just this game isn't like the most engaging or dungeon
It is
crawling
basic. It
type
is definitely a
games.
basic game. Yeah.
Yeah, aren't for me because I like it. I especially like how they've reinvented the Minecraft world and added a bunch of new kind of enemies, and especially as the hardcore Minecraft fan that I am, that's my favorite game of all time. Seeing how they incorporated Minecraft elements like purchasing things from villagers and enchantments and different kinds of weapons, how they incorporated those into a different style genre of game. But I didn't find the combat particularly compelling because it's really just mash A or press right trigger, and you've got like some other abilities that are on cooldown, but like frankly, I only found a couple of the ones that I had to be any good at all. And because I didn't feel like the weapons felt like different enough, and I especially wasn't getting very many different abilities to work with. It just felt very limited. Like I was approaching situations in essentially the same way, not because I didn't want to experiment, but because the game at the end of each level gives you a little chest and opens up and gives you an item, or sometimes you can occasionally find items within the levels if you explore. Um, I was getting a lot of duplicates of items and abilities, and I was like, huh, I, I know there's probably a lot more of these things, but I'm just getting like one that does 8 damage instead of 6 damage, and that's not enough for me to really feel like I'm growing in power, especially because obviously the enemies scale as the levels get more complex, and there's like a wider variety of enemies. So it just kind of felt like I was on like there wasn't like a difficulty curve. It was kind of like a difficulty plane. And the combat wasn't really evolving enough for me to be like, oh yeah, like I really can't wait to see what I can do with this combination of enchantments. Also because you get enchantments so slowly that I'm like, really, what's even the point of this? I don't know. Look, I'm excited to try Diablo 4, because obviously that is a more advanced type of game in this genre.
That's a
But
real dungeon crawler.
yeah, but Minecraft Dungeons just didn't engage me because I think there's a few key design decisions that I was like, really? Like this is it?
Yeah, it's definitely a really basic game, and I get what you're saying
Yeah.
about like the loot specifically. it was weird. My girlfriend was trying to play without me after I beat it because after I beat it, I was like, you can keep playing on your own. I think I'm done.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and that to be fair, I played it multiplayer. You played it single player, I assume.
Yes.
My girlfriend doesn't really play games, so whenever I find something I can play with her, it's always going to be a little bit more fun for me.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, she was having an issue where after I stopped playing with her, I don't know if it's because we started out as like a co-op world or something, but all the gear she was getting was like severely underleveled for some reason. Like when we were playing together, it
Huh.
was fine, but then when she kept
Yeah.
playing after, she couldn't get any better gear, so she was just kind of stuck. Even on the easiest difficulty, she couldn't get through it because like for some reason her you have like a power level associated with your character,
Yeah,
and for
you
some
do. You
reason
only level.
for
Yeah.
some reason her power level was lower than the easiest difficulty. I don't know what the hell happened to her world. Yeah, I don't know.
What?
I don't know if it glitched or what, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Minecraft Dungeons. It's just a basic. It's a kids game. I don't know.
Yeah.
It definitely makes me want to try out, like you said, Diablo 4 because I've never played a Diablo
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tucker, that you've been playing?
I have, but well, let's go back and forth. I got one more thing I can talk about. So why don't you
Sure,
talk a little bit about what you've been playing?
sure. I've been playing two things. We'll save the other thing I've been playing for last, of course.
Okay.
But I finished up Xenoblade Chronicles 3: Future Redeemed, of course. I was close to finishing it last week. When we recorded, I think I
Yeah.
had like just the final boss and stuff left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's so good. I wish I
Yeah.
had more time to go back to it and 100% it because it's really satisfying completing the game. They have all like the collectopedia and all the
Yeah. You talked
indexes
about it
and
last week.
yeah, the quality of life improvements to that stuff and that side of this game is really
Hmm.
nice. I don't love that they gated affinity points in this game behind that deep exploration. Like it's fine
Hmm.
in some cases, but for example, and to be fair, I got most of this stuff just playing normally because I play these games pretty in depth. Like I'll explore, but
Yeah. Of course.
to get the items that you need to unlock further abilities or not, I guess abilities, yeah, and upgrades in the affinity chart, you need to find an item, and normally those
Hmm.
items are hidden in like a chest that are just like
Yeah.
like the secret areas in Xenoblade. It's only like one of those
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of
Exactly.
areas.
They're not like super visible on the map. They like unlock once
You
you
kind
like
of yeah,
find.
you kind of have to find
Yeah.
them. Yeah, same thing with like unlocking and giving your characters more accessory slots and all that. They kind of locked all that stuff behind exploration.
Hmm.
And for me, Xenoblade, I like exploring and I like trying not 100% it, but I like filling out the lists.
Of course.
It's never been that much about the exploration for me.
Yeah.
So locking that kind of stuff behind that, specifically the not the final boss, but the boss before the final boss, I was playing on normal. I actually had to go grind. I
Hmm.
very rarely have to grind in a Xenoblade game, but
Yeah.
because I, like Rex only had one accessory, I was like, okay, well, I guess I guess I should go look for more of these things. Um, but other than that, dude, this game's fantastic. I still need to do a separate video review. I'm trying to get one of my other friends on to do like a spoiler type discussion. Obviously, I'm not gonna talk
Yeah.
about the plot here, but it's really good, really short. Recommend it. I mean, well, short for Xenoblade. It's like I think
Yeah.
it took me like
Yeah.
15 hours to beat it, maybe. And some once no spoilers, but some really crazy story stuff. People saying this is the end of the saga. It's not. I will
Oh.
say we were talking about last week, and we had a question last week about what
Yeah.
the future of Xenoblade and Monolith Soft is now that the Klaus saga of Xenoblade is over. I guess the Klaus saga, as we're calling it, this trilogy of games. I guess that direct storyline might be over.
Yeah.
This storyline is not over. This
Interesting.
this is not
Okay.
over.
Wow.
I'm just gonna say this right now. And I think Good Vibes Gaming, John Cartwright made a short about this on their channel. Shout out, love
Shout
you,
out.
man. Um,
Indirect friend of the show.
yeah. In the copyright of the game, it's Bandai Namco and Xenosaga. I'm just gonna leave that there.
Oh.
I'm just gonna
Huh.
leave it at that. So just know that Monolith Soft is cooking.
Okay.
That's
All
all I
right.
will say.
Interesting. Huh.
If you play Future Redeem, if you really any of these, if you play Xenoblade 2, Cosmos was in Xenoblade 2.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Just know they are almost certainly cooking. So very exciting stuff there
Huh.
for the future
Xenosaga
of
revival.
Monolith Soft and the Xeno series. So
Yeah.
very cool. But
Interesting.
what's your other game, Tucker? Other games if you have multiple.
No, I only have one other. Which is last night I started Star Wars Jedi Survivor, coming hot off the heels of my backlog banter co-host
May
Abram
the
Buhner.
4th.
Ma- Unfortunately, yes, it is May the 4th. Um, so I started yesterday. I could have started today, just for a little synergy. But off the heels of my co-host Abram Buhner from Backlog Banter saying that this was a his game of the year. He gave it a 5 out of 5 on Backlog, 10 out of 10. And saying that there's really no shot that any game is better than this year. And Abram is the biggest Star Wars fan I know. he's obsessed with Star Wars in a way that I'm obsessed with some other things. And I was a little bit wary when I hear something that hyperbolic,
I saw
especially
his
coming.
tweet. That was a very bold tweet.
Yeah, yeah, and he also made a post in our Discord that was like that was saying what I just said. And I I was excited for this game. I didn't start it at launch, obviously, as I just started yesterday. Because I wasn't quite in the mood for starting up a game at that point. But I was wary and excited for this game because I got the platinum for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order in 2019. I don't like that game. I got the platinum for it because it was a pretty easy platinum. But in the probably 25 hours or a little more that I played of that game, I got so many bugs. The world started falling apart. The exploration and the combat got less and less satisfying and more finicky as it was going on. And by getting everything done there was to do in that game, I was like, really? Like this is the game of the year candidate that people loved so much in 2019. I mean,
And that was a
I'm
strong
here.
year too for
It
competition.
was, yeah. I mean, for me, Control 2019. Love that game. But so I started this game and hearing basically nothing but praise for it except for the bugs on the PC port. I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna give this a shot. I have only played 2.5 hours of it. So to this point, the game has not differentiated itself very much from Fallen Order. I know there's other things coming, other kinds of combat, other kinds of traversal that I know will expand upon what the formula of the first game was. But so far, it hasn't felt that different, which is not a terrible thing because again, I'm only a couple hours in. But it also doesn't feel very different because this game is janky. And I just put up a video that I talked about with Abram why we don't care about performance issues in games. And I wish that I'd played this game before I made that video because I remember why I care about performance issues sometimes. This game is it's it's solid technically, but it's filled with so many little, I say nitpicky, but like very obvious visual and technical weird errors that jar me out of any
What are you
moment.
playing on?
I'm on PS5, so
Okay.
that's supposed to be the most stable one. Um, like the most consistent thing is every time there's a cutscene between shots, because the cutscenes aren't pre-rendered, there's pop-in in the cutscenes. Like it'll supposed to be like a shot of a ship in space, and then the ship will go pop and it'll show up, or the shadows will go pop and it'll show up, or Cal will snap into a position between shots. So it's like every shot in these cutscenes is something else is going wrong, and that combined with this game having really, I think, unsatisfying physics to it. Like Cal has no weight. He just like goes on his track to like wherever he's gonna like jump to or hit to or whatever. I'm not finding this game to be anything that much better than the first game, which is a game that I know a lot of people like, but personally I really don't like. I'm interested to see if maybe some of the technical issues smooth out for me as I get more invested in the world and exploration and the combat and the characters, which to this point, because I'm so early in, I haven't got fully invested in. But I'm I'm pretty surprised that a game of this like shaky technical quality is getting this level of praise because I do think that it really takes me out of the experience. I can't get invested in these dramatic cutscenes because things aren't shown up properly. And I'm like, really? Like this is supposed to be like the selling point of a huge next gen AAA game. I don't know, man.
Is this 70?
Probably. I don't
Probably.
know. I'm Abram and I account share on PlayStation.
Okay.
So I didn't pay for it, which
Yeah,
I
I tried playing Fallen Order. I don't have like a rich history with Star Wars. I watched the original trilogy growing up, and I watched the prequels, and I thought they were fun. But I
yeah,
was never like a huge Star Wars kid. And
I was, and that's the sad
I
thing.
am a sequels defender, Tucker.
Oh, so am I. Oh, so am I. We can talk about that some
Okay,
other time.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so am
Well,
I.
I'm a sequel defender. Um, so I tried playing this game. It looked really cool. It looked like this big budget story based Star Wars game from Respawn, a developer that I don't love a ton. Based
Yeah,
on Titanfall's fun, and Titanfall 2, I never got the love for that game,
yeah.
but I enjoyed it in Apex Legends, and even just knowing their history with Infinity Ward because I love Call of Duty, especially those older ones. I tried playing this and it just never
Survivor.
what no Fallen Order, sorry.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
Um
okay.
and what you said about Cal and how he has no weight to him, the game does not feel good to play.
No, it
It does
doesn't.
not feel fun to control the game.
And
And
frankly, maybe it's
even
because
back
I'm
then it was
comparing
just
it.
janky still.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe my problem is that I'm comparing it to what it's obviously like pulling from, which is Sony's third person action games, Spider-Man, God of War, even Sony published, but like Bloodborne or Uncharted. These games have so much. They don't have almost any technical problems. Of course, it's Sony publishing them and putting all sorts of work into it. Um, but also like Kratos has so much weight to him. Like when he does things, this man is doing things, and you feel it in the controller and the animation. But the animation and the physics of Cal just it feels like I'm like playing with air, and that's just like really not satisfying to me. So yeah, I think you've got the same sort of complaint that I do.
Yeah, and to be fair, I only played maybe 3 or 4 hours of it back then, but I couldn't keep doing. Also, to the point of me not being a huge Star Wars fan, I just couldn't get into the story and the
Yeah,
characters that early on.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird conversation too with the technical issues. We've been seeing them with it feels like every major PC release this year
yeah,
and
sure.
for the past year and a half has just been abysmal. And I will never be able to talk about this again, so I want to mention it. Redfall came out this week
Did
and got some of the worst reviews I've seen for a major AAA $70 game I have seen
yeah,
in quite some time. And there were some reviews not complaining about the AI being broken.
hmm
We got to change how we review games
yeah, yeah.
because this stuff is very important. But all right, I have been playing one final game. Tucker. This
One
is this is the
final game.
this is the channel reveal if when this is being posted, I believe. Let's just say hypothetically speaking, right? Let's just,
Hypothetically, in Minecraft, it's okay.
hypothetically speaking, if I were playing the newest Zelda game for the Nintendo Switch family of systems, these would hypothetically be my thoughts.
Okay, yeah, sure.
For audio listeners, I held up a totally real copy of Tears of the Kingdom. It's I mean it could be fake, it could be real. I maybe have 7 hours in it. I stayed up very late last night playing it, which is why one of the reasons we're recording this early. Um,
Oh god,
plus you said you have other obligations later, so we had to do it early.
class.
Um, I'm not too far into the game. Obviously, I'm not going to
7 hours.
spoil or anything. Well, yeah, 7 hours. That's what maybe 1% of the game. It's so good, dude. It's everything I wanted and more. I do have a couple issues. First things first, and we talked about this last week about it not being an issue for us, and it has gotten better
Mhm.
since I left the opening area. When you get the Ultra Hand ability
Yeah.
and you use it, at least in that opening area, for some reason it's gotten better since I'm on the ground level now. The frame rate is fucking atrocious.
Oh, is it really?
It's
Oh
Scarlet and
no.
Violet tier bad. I will
Really?
say that
Oh
right now, but
god.
it was only on the opening area. Ever since then, it's been okay. It's been like the regular Zelda hiccup,
Yeah.
but it was really bad at the start. I don't know if
Ooh.
that's just
Huh.
because I was on a sky island
Yeah.
or maybe they run worse.
Well,
I don't know, man. But every time I had to build something using Ultra Hand, I was like, I don't want to do this because it makes the game run at 10 FPS. So
interesting.
I'll
Oh
be
god.
very curious to see the tech breakdowns. I'm not a huge I can't I'm not great at just visualizing frame rate, but
Of course.
I
Yeah.
know when something's chugging and it was chugging.
Hmm.
Um and even just during combat it does that sometimes. The other thing is the new abilities. This will come with time. It's been weird trying to get used to them, especially Ultra Hand, rotating stuff and getting them to connect properly. But I'm sure with time, being able to move, you can use it with gyro, you can use the D-pad to rotate stuff. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but
Yeah.
definitely what the previews were saying with the controls being a little weird
Hmm.
there. But other than that, though, those two issues aside, this game is massive. I feel overwhelmed every
I can
five.
visualize the Botox Media thumbnail. It's just the word massive in giant letters, and you got
Yeah,
Link sort of staring off into the distance.
yeah, yeah. No, dude, it's huge. No spoilers, but we had seen from the gameplay demonstration with Aonuma and that there were caves, and we saw what maybe those are shrines, maybe there's something else, a little spiral things.
Yeah.
Every 5 seconds, there's something new in this game, and
Wow.
it's not like Breath of the Wild where it's a Korok. It's substantial content.
Boy.
I think I've gotten 2 sectors of the map opened.
Yeah.
Um, after 7 hours of play, the story stuff is really good.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, dude. Strongest opening to any Zelda game. I will say that.
Really? Ooh.
Dude,
Okay.
people should be excited. I'm not gonna say too much more. I don't want to, I feel bad almost that I'm hypothetically playing it,
Yeah, hypothetically
because
in
people have to
Minecraft.
wait. So I don't want to tease them too
You're already
much.
making me feel bad. I don't have the game. Oh,
So we'll talk about this more in depth next Friday because the game will be out next Friday on that
yeah,
episode of the podcast, and then of course throughout the coming month when you get your hands on it, I'm probably gonna be playing it for a couple weeks at least.
yeah, of course.
But here's the kingdom. Hypothetically speaking,
It's great.
pretty fucking good. Pretty damn good.
Hypothetically,
So,
man.
hypothetically speaking, of course, for legal reasons, hypothetically.
Yeah.
Um, all right, Tucker, let's get into the major news.
Can you get sued for sarcasm?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
Oh,
what
wait,
does the
wait.
law say about in Minecraft? What is that
Yeah.
a thing? Like, I'm pretty sure there was like a 4chan thing where someone leaked something that said in Minecraft, and like, so now there's a legal thing where it's like you can't say like in Roblox in Minecraft to like get rid of that kind of
Gonna commit treasonous acts in Minecraft, you guys. All right, Tucker, let's get into our major news stories. We only have 3 this week, but all
okay.
3 of them are pretty juicy. Well, really the first 2 are juicy, but the third one I want to include here because it is substantial. All right, we alluded to this earlier. The Super Mario Bros. Movie, the Nintendo Select Promise, as Tucker made last week, has hit $1 billion at the box office.
You feel me?
Tucker, I'll let you take this one.
Big deal. What?
Big deal.
54th something like that movie of all time to make over $1 billion. I think only the 11th animated movie. Universal doesn't have that many, so it's a big deal for them. Though it's Despicable Me 3, and I think Minions 1 might also be on that list. But yeah, I'm very happy with this. For a long time, people have been curious if this movie was really going to be the gigantic success that I always thought that it could be, and that like sort of set my expectations. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't predict it to make a billion, but like in my mind, I was, and of course, here we are, and it's gonna only keep climbing. I think this movie's legs will stick around through the beginning of this summer movie season, but for the first time in this movie's history, of course, only being out for a month, it has competition because Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out as of recording today, and that's going to make the most money this weekend. Of course it will. And then because it's a film that families love to see MCU movies, who knows how much air that's going to take away from Mario continuing to make giant chunks of change each weekend. It didn't have like any competition for the last few weeks, so that's really what has led it to being such the success that it is. But I'm very happy with this. I just like I'm very passionate about the box office. Um, my roommate Tanner and I actually, uh, in 1 hour as of recording, have a video going up of our predictions for the top 10 highest grossing films of the summer. So if you're interested in that, interested in hearing which movies we think will be making the most money, I don't know, maybe we'll put the link in the description. But I just like watching these sort of things happen and watching movies grow over time, especially because I've only started caring about box office since the pandemic started, right? That's since early last year, really. And we've only gotten 5 movies that have made $1 billion since then. This being the fifth. Uh, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Top Gun: Maverick, Avatar: The Way of Water, Jurassic World Dominion, and now the Super Mario Brothers movie. Um, is a big goddamn deal, and I'm very proud that as a Nintendo fan, people are like noticing Nintendo more now because it's got a movie, and more people watch movies than play Nintendo games. So Godspeed.
It's almost a little scary. It's like
Yeah,
I know I shouldn't ever view this $1 billion corporation like this because it's
yeah,
disgusting, and I should not because fuck them. It's almost like seeing your baby take their first steps out of like
yeah.
they're like the first day of kindergarten. They're moving on from us, man. This is
Our
it's
100-year-old baby.
yeah, it's kind of scary to see Nintendo finally. It feels like coming out of their shell, man.
Yeah,
After miss hit with the GameCube, then Wii U, and obviously the Mario movie from was it 89 or 90,
yeah,
completely put them off of licensing like this for a long
yep,
time.
yep,
They're finally realizing like, wait a second, we can make money.
yeah,
People like our stuff outside of video games. So
yeah.
it's definitely kind of crazy seeing this movie's success, and um just knowing that this is not the end of it. This is only the beginning.
Mhm.
I've seen some people trying to say like, oh, that's gonna be a one-off. No, it is not.
No, absolutely not.
I know Nintendo's kind of a hard company to predict sometimes. You can
Yeah.
predict. You can bring this one to the bank. They are going to milk with a capital M
Well, yes,
the NCU.
absolutely. Because they are also not the only people in this
Exactly.
pot. I mean, this movie is produced, I think, only 25% by Nintendo. I think the other 75% is Illumination and Universal putting up that money. So they actually have the biggest stake in this movie and the future of Nintendo movies doing this well. And because Hollywood is now involved, Nintendo, in all their weirdness, can't really make a weird Nintendo decision.
You
Like
you can't
the
you
Mario
can't you
movie,
cannot say to your investors, hey, we don't want to do that right now.
yes,
After this, they cannot just say, oh, we don't want to do another movie.
we want to try something experimental. You know, it's not going to bring in many people, but it'd be kind of fun to like invent something new. That's not how. I mean, sometimes how movies work, but it's not how the biggest movies work. So yeah, you're right that this is just the start of it, and yeah, this is the most predictable thing that Nintendo has ever done.
Yeah. Um.
Is will make more movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I'll be curious to see what other franchises they get to. I'll be curious
Yeah.
to see if they can hit this high with
Nope.
the inevitable Mario movie 2. I don't think so.
Sorry. Oh, Mario movie 2,
Maybe
maybe.
maybe Mario movie 2.
Yeah.
Maybe like a Donkey Kong movie could hit a billion. But like Zelda, I
I
don't
think people
know.
care
I mean,
that much about
maybe.
Donkey Kong.
I don't know. I feel like people like Donkey Kong, man.
Yeah, I don't think they don't like Donkey Kong $1 billion.
Well, hey, well, this is just the start, man. This is just the
Yeah,
start.
true. True.
This is, I mean,
If
this
they
is
do make a Donkey Kong movie, I want to see Stanley the Bugman from Donkey Kong 3.
Stanley the motherfucking Bugman. No, I mean, this is gonna entire generations of kids now is gonna associate Mario with a movie franchise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So especially Nintendo's always founded itself on nostalgia sales and all that. Imagine 15 years from now,
Yeah, true.
they're gonna
True.
yeah. So this could be the start of something very big for this company, and it will be exciting to cover it on the podcast in the years to come because
Yep.
I'd imagine
Yes.
a new movie announcement probably isn't too far off. Actually, when we're recording this on May 4th, Nintendo's investor meeting is on May 7th. So
Oh, okay.
I think next week we're gonna have some interesting, topics. Maybe not
I didn't know about that.
maybe not
Yeah.
movie related, although possible. I mean, they announced the
Possibly.
Mario
Yeah.
movie there, but maybe
I
even
mean,
maybe next
that's what
hardware
their
related.
investors are most well, there's two things the investors are most wondering about right now. It's like, oh God, what are they going to do next for a video game system? Which I don't expect there to be any information there. So if they're going to appease their investors with, we're going to be making a shitload more money, easiest way to do that is say, hey, movie stuff. Because frankly, they don't obviously don't announce games at at these kind of things, and they don't even
Mobile
have
games.
games that they can really confirm are coming. Because usually that's what happens in investors meetings and stuff. Is we're like, okay, so Bayonetta 3 is still geared for sometime soon. Like that's usually the news that comes out of this for video game fans. But like as we
They
talked last week, Metroid Prime 4 is
they
like
can't
the
even
only
brag
like
about Tears of the
confirmed date they
Kingdom
have.
yet because it won't be
True,
out. They won't be able to
true.
brag about its first week sales, that kind of
Yeah,
thing,
it's got to be
which
movie
is why
stuff.
they normally release a game at the end of March so they can brag about it to their
Mhm.
investors
Yeah.
to close off the financial year. So, yeah, next week with all that coming out should be very interesting. I think it's May 7th that's happening. But we
Cool.
did have a write-in about Mario movie hitting a billion.
Yeah.
From Bandit in the Discord. With the Mario movie hitting $1 billion, it's pretty clear Nintendo will continue making movies of the sort. What do you all want to see? Zelda, Smash, etc. So I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but I don't know if we went too in depth with it. Um, and we even talked about the District 9 director
Yeah.
showing interest in Metroid. Let's not talk about Mario. They're obviously going to make
Yeah.
Mario.
Yeah.
We know we're
Yeah.
getting Mario 2. We're probably getting a Donkey Kong movie. We'll probably get a
And also
Luigi
because that's
movie.
a known quantity, it's like not that it's not as exciting to see
Right.
that brought to life. It's like, oh yay, a movie based around Yoshi or Luigi's Mansion or Donkey Kong. It's like, okay, we know what those characters look like, and we basically know like what they're gonna be like. So
Right. I will say on the Mario Kart or Mario thing, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a movie focused around Mario Kart. Maybe call it Mario Kart.
okay,
I feel like that'd be a good angle for our next one.
yeah,
Kids like racing cars
get
and
Neil
stuff. So
Blomkamp for that.
yeah.
He's making
Um.
Gran Turismo.
Yeah. Um. Get David Harbour, get him in there. But
True.
yeah. What other Nintendo IP do you really think makes sense for this? People always say Metroid, and I think from a live action perspective, Metroid could work, but financially it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know if you want to reach the financial success, even come close to it, let's say, of the Mario movie. I don't know what Nintendo franchises make sense. I don't think you can do a full Animal Crossing movie. I think you can do a series. I don't think you could do a full Splatoon movie. I think you could do a series.
Mm, mm.
You could do a Zelda movie. And I guess that's the best answer, probably.
I disagree. to be 100% honest, because I think that what Nintendo realizes with Mario movie making this much and the idea of Nintendo produced movies, um, being successful and bringing their games to a larger audience and making them more culturally relevant, I think the best path forward for Nintendo is to make their quote unquote smaller franchises. By smaller, I mean Splatoon and Animal Crossing primarily, which they're not small franchises, but compared to Mario, of course they are. Um, make those have movies that give like way more people, get them thinking about Splatoon and Animal Crossing. And frankly, I think both those series are primed for that kind of animated style. Metroid is a little bit more iffy. What do they do with that? Do they sell it as like a Star Wars? Like, is it a live action? Is it animated? But you can't do a live action Splatoon. You can't do a live action Animal Crossing. If you make those animated films and you give them the quality that Mario has, but just maybe not the full budget, I think that makes everyone more happy. I think that if they market it properly, a fun family movie about a little villager moving into a town so with some wacky animal friends, those movies do well. Movies with wacky animal characters do well. Splatoon is so weird and colorful and crazy and has so much action and lore and concept behind it that if they make a full movie out of that and it does not $1 billion, because I don't think they would expect it to do $1 billion, but makes more money than all the Splatoon games have, that makes Splatoon a doubly big franchise. And then the next time you put out a game, it's even bigger. I think that marketing wise, it actually makes sense to dip back into their other catalog of games to make them even larger.
Okay, hearing you talk it through, Splatoon actually does make sense.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I. Here's the thing: any animated movie Nintendo makes will be a 3D animated movie, obviously.
of course. Yeah,
Dude, like a just like a Studio Trigger animated, like anime style Splatoon, like action series or movie would
yeah,
be
yeah,
so good. Um, because I mean, Splatoon's art style just lends itself to that so well.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, you're right. Splatoon does have that rich lore, and they could do a story with that. I mean, I think we joked about it
And
last
they're
week.
actually
Hearing,
characters in
yeah,
Splatoon.
I think we joked about it last week though. Hearing an Inkling speak English is going to be messed
Yeah,
up.
sure.
But with Animal Crossing, you're right. I mean, we have stuff like Zootopia and Secret Life of Pets, and those movies do crazy with kids. So I guess Animal Crossing could work. It's just Animal Crossing doesn't have a pre-established story.
True, of
Splatoon
course
does,
not.
Mario does, Zelda does, Metroid does, even.
Though, have you seen the anime Animal Crossing movie? I watched that a couple weeks ago.
No, I
That's
have
a real
not.
thing.
I did.
2006.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, they just come up with a really bland ass story for it. And frankly, I think that movie is good, but I don't think it's
Well,
exceptional.
tell me what happens. Are they like trying to like find some secret like fruit? Like
No,
what are they doing?
villager just moves to town and like wants to make friends.
But
Like it's
there's
literally just
no
like
like plot. Like there's no
not
like stakes.
no. I mean the stakes is like she wants to find what like makes her happy. And it look, okay, so I recorded a review discussion of this movie with Abram, and then I sent it to him to record, and then I deleted my copy of it because I'm like, okay, he has it, and then he never
Oh my
got it or
god.
something. So that the review is gone. But in our review, we talked about how they're just trying to adapt the feeling of playing Animal Crossing. It has the seasons. It has you're gonna go catch some bugs. You're gonna go hit a rock with a shovel. They don't do that in the game or in the movie. But I think that you can easily make some sort of very simple kid story about moving to a village. Something is happening, like a big crazy corporation is moving in, or something like that, and you got to fight back with Tom Nook and Isabel to the make the village something a lot of fun where people can have a good time. I don't know what it is, but I think even a basic story like what we got out of Mario would establish a Animal Crossing world enough to where it does feel natural that there's a story. Because there is a story to Animal Crossing. It's that you're moving to a village and establishing your life and making connections with other people. That is the basics of a story, but it is a story.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just be curious to see how they. Because even like, I mean, Zootopia has some crazy stuff in it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll be curious. You're right. I mean, if they really want to adapt it, they can.
Yeah.
These franchises are dead. Maybe we'll get them revived and they'll want to push them. But Star Fox and Kid Icarus both would fit very well to this,
Mhm.
especially Star Fox. I think really both actually. Both would be really good because those
Yeah.
already have English like voices. They already have real
Yeah.
voices. They already have a pretty cool plot. Star Fox is obvious. So I mean, so is Kid Icarus. So those could both be easy picks too. But I don't know if they would
Yeah.
want to do those smaller franchises. But
Yeah. Yeah. That might be too small.
yeah. All right. The biggest news story of the week, Tucker. Of course, I already showed my copy of it, hypothetically.
Hypothetically. Oh.
But The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has leaked online. So this all happened very quickly, man.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know, I feel kind of proud of myself for reporting it because I was one of the first people to talk about this when it happened.
Yeah.
Um Someone posted on 4chan a picture of the collector's edition for the game, I think last Thursday or Wednesday.
Okay.
Um so around the time we recorded last week's episode of the podcast, actually, they posted a picture of the collector's edition, but it looked like it was in a warehouse. So I was like, okay, obviously these are getting shipped out to retailers. The next day, someone listed a copy of it on the internet for sale,
Yeah.
and very quickly, I think within maybe 48 hours, the game had been dumped. People were playing it on emulators. This is I've gotten games early in the past, not from Nintendo, and this is early, man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can imagine they are very unhappy. Usually it's like a couple days. I think Scarlet and Violet was maybe 6 days. This is almost 2 full weeks that this
Yeah.
game had leaked, and I mean that's not good. I
Yeah.
know. I obviously it sucks because Nintendo can't do anything about it when it comes to the shipping, and with a game this massive, you assume they're probably printing millions of copies in the U.S. alone.
Hmm.
So with that much freight going out and shipments being made, it can't really avoid it. But
Yeah.
it's still, I'm kind of happy because I'm playing the game early right now. But
Hypothetically.
hypothetically, but it does suck that a game that these developers work 6 years on just leaks like this. People are
Yeah.
stealing it like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and emulating it. I will say, for the sake of just being transparent with the audience, do I hypothetically have this copy here? Yes. I do still have my collector's edition pre-ordered. I'm still supporting
Yeah.
that game,
Yeah.
100%. Um, so it's a slippery slope with this kind of stuff. This is the earliest I've seen a big game like this leak in a while, especially just to see it dumped and playable on an emulator so
Yeah.
quickly. There was, I think I sent this to you, Reggie. Someone tweeted out a picture of the game on their on their Switch home screen, like pointing at it, saying "LOL." And then for some reason, this person got like a bunch of attention, so everybody was replying in the comments like at Reggie, at Nintendo NOA, at Nintendo Europe, and all these people, Doug Bowser. Reggie banished this man to the Shadow Realm. Reggie
He
quote tweeted
used
it
the
with the
code.
Taken quote.
Yeah. Code from Taken, which I've not seen, but that's really funny.
I could not believe it when I thought it was a fake account, but I checked the account. I was like, oh wait, this is some Elon Musk BS. No, this is a real Reggie account. Um, publicly showing that this guy's playing the game early, and he like
Yeah. That's true.
obviously he doesn't work for Nintendo anymore, so I guess he can do whatever he wants. But it was very funny. And then either the person was getting a lot of hate, so they deleted their account, or I guess maybe Nintendo took their account down. I can't imagine they would do that just because he posted a picture, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just to see Reggie come out like that and just come out swinging with the freaking "I have a particular set of skills" quote from Taken, um, is crazy. And before we get to you, Tucker, we did have a question from
Okay.
Ocarina Pin. Have you managed to avoid gameplay and story spoilers for Tears of the Kingdom now that it's leaked in full? So obviously, if you've been subscribed to the channel, I've covered some story leaks, but a lot of gameplay leaks, pretty in depth. So the answer for me is no. How about you, Tucker?
I haven't seen anything. And it's not even like I've been actively avoiding it. Like I haven't muted things on Twitter. I have been, I guess, like inactively avoiding videos. Like I haven't watched any of your videos about the leaks. So sorry you're not getting like your 5 views from me or whatever. Not like you need it. You're getting so many goddamn views. But no, I haven't seen anything. Which I guess is somewhat surprising. Because I'm still like reasonably active on Twitter and I watch a lot of YouTube. I think people on my Discord server haven't, even if they have gotten looked at leaks, they haven't been sharing it on there, and I haven't been looking at the Tears of the Kingdom leaks channel on your server. So I actually don't know anything about about what has been leaked from this game. Not that I'm like that worried about spoilers. I wouldn't be like the most upset if I came across some leaks or saw some stuff. But I just think at this point I'm so close. It's like I don't know. I'm just not going to seek them out just because the game is coming out so soon.
Yeah, I have no self restraint. Me and my buddy Tony, we were just immediately like in a Discord call looking
Yeah,
looking at
yeah.
4chan like, all right, what's in this game? Um, yeah, I will say though, with Pokemon, it was unavoidable. I feel like
Oh,
with
absolutely.
new Pokemon designs, and maybe
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just follow a different crowd of people, but I will say my Twitter feed's been pretty clean.
Every
People seem to
Pokemon game
be,
is like that, by the way.
yeah, sure. I guess some
Pokemon
people,
games have leaked basically every generation I can remember.
right? But normally, I feel like people are being a little bit more respectful with the spoilers this time.
Yeah, true.
Not trying to just throw it on the Twitter feed. And I will
Yeah,
say, of course, with my videos, I don't put spoilers in the titles. I don't talk spoilers in the thumbnail. I will talk them in the video, but only after a big hearty spoiler warning. Now, once the game's
yeah.
out, that might be a different scenario, but
Yes,
we'll see.
as it should be.
Of course. But yeah, this is. I can't imagine Nintendo's happy, and we'll see if they try to take any action against the people that leaked it. I saw I made a video about someone on Mercari that had the game. His account is still there, but all the listings got
Yeah.
removed.
Okay.
So I don't know how that process works with like they'd have to contact Mercari legally, I guess, to get his stuff taken down.
Huh.
I don't know how it would work, but
Yeah.
I imagine that man's also getting banished to the Shadow Realm by the originator.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right. Final news story of the week, Tucker. This one was really nice to see. And I want to say, I've done my videos talking about how Tears of the Kingdom doesn't look like DLC, and I did a video just a couple days ago saying that Tears of the Kingdom, in my opinion, is easily worth $70.
Yeah.
And I got one specific comment saying that it should not be $70 because the developers are not seeing any of that extra $10. The developers are not making more money as as a coder or a game designer
Yeah.
due to the price increase. Maybe this is true for Western developers, but I feel like Nintendo specifically, you really only hear nothing but good stories about people that work for them.
Yeah.
Especially on the Japanese side, they don't seem to really crunch ever. And we had a story come out this week after the release of Future Redeemed that Monolith Soft is increasing their employee salaries by 22% for new graduates who join the company. That is a huge amount
Yeah.
of a
Yeah.
raise for a starting
The
salary.
raise that I got at my job was like, here's an extra quarter an hour, and I'm like,
Exactly.
fucking thanks. I make like an extra $2 on my shift now. Hooray!
Right. So, and while I can't speak from knowledge, if Redfall being 70 is making Arcane employees more money, great.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the case, but we know for a fact that Tears of the Kingdom being $70 is probably pretty directly related to a company like Monolith Soft getting a raise like this because
True.
they are partially developing this game.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously most of any additional revenue would go to the suits up top, as with
course.
all capitalist companies. But
Yep.
it is nice to see Nintendo, and I feel like we've had a recent story about Monolith Soft like this, not even like a year or two ago. So maybe in specific Monolith Soft is just good about this, but I want to shout it out. This I feel like we talk about Naughty Dog crunching and all these studios releasing buggy, broken games. Nintendo, but especially Monolith Soft, they just feel to be. It feels like they are so well. It's such a well-oiled machine over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
They don't really miss with their games. I mean, I haven't spoken to any developers at Monolith Soft, obviously, but it seems like there's no toxicity going on there. It's just a
Yeah.
pretty good work environment, I imagine. So, and to get a raise like this is a big deal. So,
Yeah.
wanted to shout that out. People always focus on the negative in the industry, and I didn't see anybody talking about that, which is always funny to me. When there's a positive thing, no one talks about it. So, shout out to Monolith Soft. Keep doing your thing. Give me Xenoblade 5, and 4, and
Skip
9,
4? Oh, okay.
and 8, and Xenosaga 7, and Xenoblade X port. All right, Tucker. We have a lot of questions to get through. Maybe like 5, 6. Of course, once again, join the Discord. Leave them in the NS Podcast chat to leave your questions for next week's episode, or leave them in the comments below. We try to get to as many questions as possible, but if it's a redundant question based on a question from like the week prior, we may skip it. That's really the only reason we'll skip a question. Because we're so small right now. And you're going to hear a lot of the similar names asking us, questions because it is a small podcast right now.
Yeah. That's
All right.
fine. I love
Yeah, it's
getting to
completely
know
fine.
people through their names because I hear them enough. And honestly, if I'm on the Discord, I'm obviously on YouTube, and I have a Twitter that's like not hidden. It's on the screen right now. So if you are one of the people that's asking these questions, and you're like, "Hey, it'd be kind of cool to talk to these people that are doing this podcast." Bo and I are chronically online individuals, and like we like talking about video games. So you DM me on Discord or tag me on a Twitter post. You want to talk to me? That's okay by me. I allow that.
For sure. All right, first question from Late Grasser 10. Do you think Nintendo's next console will bring back that old Nintendo charm, by which I mean stuff like fun
Yeah.
pre-installed software, themes, or even eShop music? Now, Tucker, I believe me, you, and Abram did a discussion about this like
Yeah.
maybe half a year ago on
Yeah.
Backlog Banter, talking about how Nintendo has changed from that fun focused
Yeah.
company to kind of like a more sterile. The Switch's UI is very basic. There's no sound design. It's very, the eShop doesn't have any music at all.
No.
Um, I hope so,
Yeah.
but I don't think so. I feel like I mean, it depends on what the next console is. If it's a Switch 2, then I really don't think so.
Yeah.
If they decide to do something a little bit more unique with it and have a new gimmick, then maybe they could go back to that. But the Switch has worked so well for them. Nintendo is a victim of trying to fix what's already not broken. They seem to
Hmm.
just want to fuck around with stuff too much. So maybe they'll mess around and try some new stuff. But the reality is they probably shouldn't. If they want to keep the Switch going, they probably should just keep it as they have it right now. What do you
Yeah. I
think?
mean, I don't think that reintroducing these sort of Nintendo charm elements would hurt the identity of their next system, but I do think that obviously what we know of the current Nintendo development team and what their ethos is now, they have modernized things. I agree to an extent with the sterilization because it is getting rid of some of those elements that were relatively consistent over the course of Nintendo's history, mostly for that early 2000s sort of era. But I am not clamoring for those things to be reintroduced. I think it would be totally nice. Um, but I just wouldn't expect it, to be 100% honest. And so I won't be disappointed when those things, in my eyes, inevitably don't show back up because it seems like that is, at least for now, what Nintendo has sort of trended to, making it feel like they're making their consoles feel more like premium products. I would say that the Switch, maybe in part because of the simplicity slash sterilization of its UI experience, does feel like a more premium system than many previous Nintendo consoles that, frankly, most people criticized for feeling kitty, feeling like a toy. Things like Mii's walking around, or having jaunty music. These were absolutely things that I personally enjoyed, but I do think that in the larger sphere, there's this idea: if you got simple black and white and nice clean edges and not any superfluous knickknacks, that is what premium is, and I'm paying for a premium product. And Nintendo did succeed with that element of the Switch, it feeling like a more serious system than some of their previous ones. I think, yeah, maybe in part because they don't have that. So I don't see that changing anytime soon.
I agree. I think at this point they found what they're doing,
Yeah.
and I mean especially with Furukawa leading Nintendo now, of course, president of Nintendo. I feel like they're just gonna keep the status quo for a while. Although eShop music would be nice,
Sure.
or,
Yeah.
or or just the eShop working period would be nice. That'd be a big step in the right direction.
That's going to be the only update for their next gen
I would
console.
accept it, and also maybe some different colors for themes, or even just like a gradient for the theme.
Sure.
Something basic.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't clamor for themes. Frankly, I never got one for my 3DS. I know that's fucking heresy. Everyone loves 3DS themes. But
Overrated. I
I
agree. Actually, yeah.
I think that it's just so funny that there is a themes tab. There is one,
They
but
definitely
they don't
planned for
use
something. Yeah,
it.
they definitely planned for something, and then we're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Oh God.
all right. Jay Trotter wrote in thoughts on achievements for Nintendo's next console, as well as proper profiles, stuff like Steam, where you can view all your games and your friends' games a lot easier. I have been wanting trophies or achievements on Nintendo since I can remember. Ever since I
Yeah.
remember getting my first achievements on 360 and trophies on PS3. I think we're too late. It doesn't matter. They don't care enough anymore. I think we're past it. Nintendo does have trophies. They just put them in their games, and
Yeah.
I
Totally.
hate it. I hate it so
Yeah.
much because I like 100%ing games. I like going for platinum trophies. And is it vain and kind of weird to really want that to be on a profile for people to see? Sure. But it's
Yeah,
nice for me to be able to look at my own profile and see, oh, I remember when I got the platinum for Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker on my profile, right?
yeah,
With a Nintendo game, it's nice that they have the in-game achievements for most of their games at this point, I would say.
yeah.
Um,
Kirby,
yeah,
Smash.
Fire Emblem has them.
Yeah,
So they already do it, just not on a system-wide level. So they know the importance of it. They know the importance of having stuff like this, but I guess if they really, really want to start pushing Nintendo Switch Online even more than they already are, maybe they could tie it in with that with the next console. Maybe
sure.
it's like a big update for Switch Online, like, hey, this is a big feature that you get if you pay. Maybe they would paywall it. I
Huh.
hope not.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I as much
Yeah.
as I that is the out of anything. If they released the Switch 2 and it was the same amount of power as the regular Switch, but it had trophies, I would be through the moon. I would be through the roof. I'd be so happy because dude, just imagine if they slowly went back and added trophies to
Yeah,
NES
yeah,
games, SNES games, and then you can just I fucked up with my PSN. I've played too many games from PS Plus. I will never have 100% completion on anything like that. If they add trophies to Nintendo,
yeah.
I will vow to 100% every Nintendo game.
Oof.
I will go crazy, dude. So it's just such a simple thing. Just do it. Just add it, Nintendo,
Yeah.
please,
Well,
please.
I'm slightly more optimistic than you are. I don't think necessarily they'd be coming anytime soon, but I also do think that Nintendo is now and probably will always be just behind the times, and it's going to be a long time before they actually catch up in that regard. But I think it's totally possible that they come up with some sort of Nintendo-ified version of achievements. I don't think that they would have the same sort of point system. Maybe it's not even that they have like a platinum trophy, but like a fun little stamp book or some sort of Nintendo version of achievements that serves that similar purpose, but feels a little more at home with Nintendo's charm, and like they're not just ripping off of trophies and achievements from PlayStation and Xbox. I think that the argument against achievements is one of the stupidest things that like people could complain about or like defend in games. Like, oh no, Nintendo shouldn't they shouldn't add achievements. That's not necessary. Who cares about trophies? Well,
Just add a toggle so you can turn them off.
sure. Well, sure, maybe, yeah, but
If you really don't want to have that like little pop up while you're playing the game because it distracts you or whatever, just turn it
yeah.
off.
The worst thing about trophies, and this is not a huge thing, but the worst thing about trophies is, especially on PS4, when it would auto record a video on your fucking hard drive every time you got a
Yeah, that sucked.
trophy. And I would look at my camera, I'm like, oh, I have to go delete all these now because I don't care that I picked up that item in Uncharted.
Yeah.
But it might happen. I think I have a little more faith that it might, but I'd like it to be Nintendo spin on achievements rather than them just copying wholesale,
Well,
which I think is kind of why they haven't done it. Is I think they want it to feel at home and it's like their own kind of thing.
that's what I thought we were gonna get with by Nintendo when they announced that probably like 7 years ago now when Miitomo came out as their first
True.
mobile game. I remember they said you would be able to earn platinum points through playing games.
Yeah.
That only ever ended up being mobile games.
Mhm.
And those have little challenges in them and dailies that you can do, and you get the platinum
Yeah.
points, and you can redeem the platinum points for physical rewards. If they could just add that kind of stuff to regular games, I mean, that even just that would be nice. Just something to
Yeah.
incentivize really playing these games, because I'm a man. I falter when it comes to 100% in a game if I don't have that immediate, not immediate satisfaction, but just like something to remember it by. I
Yeah.
don't
No,
know why.
absolutely.
I don't know why I did Switch Sports. There's no reason for me to have done that. But like I don't know if there's yeah, like you said, like just a stamp or something, or maybe you get like an exclusive icon. I think Sony's done that with some of their games. If you like if you platinum God of War, you get like an exclusive Kratos icon for your PlayStation profile, just stuff like that. Um, it's such an easy thing to incentivize playing these games and getting deeper into them because
Yeah.
when I don't have that, I end up falling off games faster.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it also makes
100%.
me purchase games that I would otherwise love to buy on Switch, or at least play on Switch and play them on PlayStation instead. I
Yeah.
did buy it on Switch, but I also have it on PS4. The Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. I'm not playing those on Switch because they have trophies. I
Yeah.
would love to
Yeah.
play. Those are perfect for the Switch, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
play them there because of trophies. So
Yeah. It's just an interesting thing of like what is it? It doesn't take away value. Like, even if you don't like trophies, okay, that's fine. Like, you don't need to go for them. But I'm the exact same way. I have not platinumed that many games. I think I have 6 or 7 platinums.
I
The
think I'm
first game I
closing in on
platinumed
50. So
50.
yeah, I have a lot.
Jesus Christ, I didn't know that about you. But yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I platinumed Jedi Fallen Order, and I didn't even like that game. So obviously, there is some incentive to engaging with a game to its fullest extent if there's that external reward, and not only reward, but as you said, like marker that you did this. Whether or not you're sharing it with people, I love looking at my PSN profile and seeing the trophies that I've gotten or the little platinum icon next to the games that I've platinum. I do think that there's something guttural monkey brain lizard brain level about like I did that, and like there's external proof that I did that.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on trophies is that I platinum Among Us on PS5, Tucker. All right.
I don't even know what
Fluffy.
the platinum would be like for that game.
It was a grind actually. I will say that
Really?
me and my girlfriend would just take turns. Just there, I forget what it was. There was something that required you to like get back to back kills as the imposter or something, and just getting selected as imposter took a while. Yeah, I don't know why I did that, but
That's
I would have never played Among Us on PS5 if it didn't have trophies. I would have never even
true.
touched it.
Yeah,
So stuff like that. Monkey brain, as you said. I want to see
yes,
the shiny thing next to my name.
yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Fluffy mustache wrote in. In an old interview, Mr. Aonuma was asked when he would retire. He said he would once he made a game as close to perfection as possible. Do you think Tears of the Kingdom is his magnum opus? So this is a very good question. I've been wondering this as
Yeah,
well. I've been wondering the same thing with Masahiro Sakurai when it comes to Smash Bros. Now that he's doing his YouTube, he
yeah,
started kickstarting his YouTube career. I tend to think that Sakurai is probably done already.
yeah. So do
I think he might be like in a supervisor kind of role maybe for the next Smash game, but he will not be like leading that project. For Aonuma, I could see this being his last game as well, to be
Yeah,
honest. I think maybe it depends on, I mean, he's a creative, of course, so he's going to have this idea of what the next thing could be and how he could top it. So if he really wants to challenge himself to create something even better than Tears of the Kingdom, maybe. But he
yeah,
already did that. Breath of the Wild was the greatest game ever made for
yeah,
a lot of people, and he's already, just from what I played, already accomplished that. So this is his magnum opus. I
yeah,
don't think
yeah.
he needs to prove himself anymore. This guy's a legend. This man. I would kiss this man, Tucker. I would kiss
Yeah,
this man.
I think it's interesting to talk about these kind of creative Sakurai and Aonuma who not only have influenced the direction of the industry in such heavy ways, but have basically only made well-received games. When you think about some of the other like big name creatives, they have some misses, but like these guys just don't. So each time they put out a game, it's almost always their magnum opus. Of course, some you can make some criticisms and say like, okay, like people say Brawl was not better than Melee, so that was a little step down. So that it would have been weird if that was Sakurai's magnum opus. And then, okay, Smash 4 was a lot bigger and a little bit wider, but it was lacking in some areas. But then Ultimate, like, yeah, like, what else can you do? And it's interesting that we're coming to this era where, with you can say Breath of the Wild, but now that we have Tears of the Kingdom, and Smash Ultimate for both these men, they have kind of like combined all of their creative efforts into one like massive, massive industry defining, history defining project. And that doesn't happen that often. It's so interesting to see the Switch era with some of these projects, these series reaching like as of now current climax. Like, whoa, I can't believe that these games are this big with this many new ideas, and oh my god. And I'd be totally fine if Tears of the Kingdom is the last Aonuma Zelda game. I love the idea of this being applied to Sakurai's franchises as well. A new face taking on these series and seeing what they can do with a different mindset. Because yeah, these guys are incredibly creative and the games they make are fantastic, but I think New Blood is basically always good. And even though both these guys have been able to reinvent themselves over the years, they're also getting old. Both these guys are old, and they've been working on these games ostensibly nonstop for like half, if not more, of their lives. So I'm ready to see who the next big Zelda creator is, because I think I trust Nintendo on both Smash and Zelda enough to pick that follow up to these creative, incredible industry defining creators and make the next Smash director and next Zelda director the next big name. And then they're gonna get 4 or 5 games and be like, oh my god, I can't believe, look at this guy. These people are making the best things ever. We can get another era of that. And I'm really excited to see us survive through that transition point. Like, we're gonna be alive when the next Zelda director is announced, or the next Smash director is announced. Like, oh my god, that's gonna be like, uh, that's basically never happened.
That's a
It's
big
never
deal.
happened for Smash, and it almost has never happened for Zelda. So, I mean, I'm so excited to see the changing of the guard there.
Yeah, Nintendo is a specifically unique company when it comes to that too, because, like you said, usually when they have someone working on a franchise, they have that person working on the franchise, and they do not mess around with that. And
Yeah,
the way Nintendo kind of approaches game development is and Miyamoto said this before, I believe, they usually don't make a video game unless they have a unique idea for it. You
yeah,
could argue maybe Smash Ultimate didn't have a unique idea, but it's the ultimate
mhm,
Smash game, so I guess that was the unique idea, bring everything back. Tears of the Kingdom is very obvious, Sky Islands and all
yeah.
these things. Kirby usually has a gimmick. They usually add a new twist, but, and I don't know if you agree with this, Tucker. I've always been of the belief that games have simply gotten better over time, but
I agree. This is
that is
very controversial, but
especially
I
this
agree.
is especially true for Nintendo.
I
I
agree.
think a game
I
like
agree.
I think I can envision a scenario where the fifth God of War game in this reboot line from Sony Santa Monica is better than each one. I don't know if I can imagine a scenario where the next Zelda game's better than Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
don't. So it's really interesting because they've had the same people working on these games. They've all reached this magnum opus essentially. So you kind of need to get fresh blood in there and get some
yep,
new ideas in there, because these
yep,
creators, like you said, are getting old, and they've probably they've probably reached the limit of what they can do.
yeah.
And even outside of Nintendo, I'll be curious to see how Miyazaki over at From Software keeps evolving the Souls
Oh,
genre,
yeah,
because
interesting.
I mean I think he's another one of the greatest developers of all time, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Um, and Demon Souls, janky game. Dark Souls, janky
Yeah,
game, and they consistently got better. And now we're at a
yep,
point. And Elden Ring, still a janky game. So
yeah.
there's still other ways they can improve something like that. But um, these are like the
The
truly
good thing about
creative.
FromSoft, though, and I think they actually kind of like announced this a little bit last week, is they have multiple teams working on multiple projects, and so we don't need to worry about them getting new blood. Like, they're
Right,
already working.
Armored
We
Core
know they're
6.
working on that.
Yeah, Armored Core 6
Exactly.
is being led by another. I think Miyazaki like started it and really kind of like helped get it started, but then
Yeah.
can't remember the other person's name is leading Armored Core 6. So that'll be exciting, but um I think even someone like Kojima, just seeing what these people these uh, generally speaking, it's Japanese developers, just seeing what
True.
they come up with. I mean, I know Death Stranding didn't hit for everybody, but if nothing else, you can look at that game and say, "Oh, he tried something new."
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. He created a no genre. Okay, Kojima,
yeah.
sure, buddy. But I mean, yeah, Kojima's such an interesting example because he has a company named after himself now, and like, he can't be working on games forever. So, we're gonna see Kojima's last game at some point, and we're also gonna see what other games from Kojima's studios, but not led by Kojima, are gonna be at some point, and that'll be so fascinating to see.
Yeah, I'll be curious. I don't know if they've done anything like this yet, but I know when he founded Kojima Productions, he said he wanted to do film stuff. I mean,
He did,
this yeah,
yes.
this dude's. I mean, if you follow him on Twitter,
There's a Metal Gear movie in the works, so not
oh
surprising to see.
well, that's not him. That wouldn't be related. I
Well,
imagine, right?
he's working on it, yeah. I think
Metal
he's
Gear.
writing it or something.
There's no way with Konami. There's no way. There's no way
Maybe
Kojima. Yeah, there's no way
maybe I'm wrong.
Kojima's
Okay, no,
working on a
hold
Metal
on.
Gear
Maybe
movie with
I'm wrong
Konami.
about that. Yeah,
Um,
okay.
but I mean, maybe in the future we could get Kojima and Konami to work on something like that again. But I
Yeah.
imagine the future for him would be movies, and the future of that production company could be something like that. And yeah, he would still maybe supervise games, but not direct them. Um, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to think about, specifically with Nintendo franchises, because, like I said, I do think they've kind of largely a lot of them have reached kind of a pinnacle point. Like Mario Kart, how do you improve Mario Kart at this point? Even, I mean, I guess the next 3D Mario, I can envision a game that's better than Odyssey, probably.
Yeah, oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but for a lot
And
of these,
that's my favorite Nintendo game, so
yeah, for a lot of these Nintendo franchises, though, it'll be interesting to get like new blood in there. But here's the thing: when
absolutely.
they get new blood, typically that's when they just make a new IP, like Splatoon, which was great.
Sure. Oh, that's a good point.
So we'll have to wait and see. It'll probably be a few more years before we get any hints about the next 3D Zelda. And maybe it will still be Aonuma. Maybe he will try to top Tears of the Kingdom. But I would not be surprised if this is his actual last game
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Can we pause for a second so I can get a tissue? I feel like I'm not talking right because my nose
Go
is so
for it.
stuffed.
Go for it.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Tucker is running to get a tissue. I'm not cutting this out. Just so you know,
Oh,
Tucker.
jeez.
Yeah,
Mute
blow your
myself.
nose. Yeah, mute it. But yeah, definitely. I think Aonuma, great guy. Met him a few times. Had a couple beers with him. I love Aonuma, man.
I'm
All right.
back. I love
Welcome back,
Aonuma too.
Tucker.
What a
Yeah.
guy. You remember in the 2017 Switch presentation when Reggie's like giving his presentation, he turns around and Miyamoto's playing Breath of the Wild and Miyamoto's like, it's good. And then
Oh yeah.
Aonuma pops out from behind the thing and he's like, hi Reggie. That's I think that was probably the first time I saw Aonuma and I was like, who's this guy? He's so much fun.
He's a legend. That's another thing about like the current era of Nintendo. I mean, we can probably get into a topic like this in another episode of the podcast, but just like the faces being gone, man. There used to be so much fun. There used to be so much identity. I mean, we see Aonuma now when he does like the very like sterile green screen background. Like,
Yeah.
this is new Zelda game. Here you go.
Yep.
And then we don't get like fun little bits
Well,
anymore.
actually, most of the time it was him saying, sorry, the game's not coming out
Aww.
yet.
Yeah, no. I wonder like put compilation all screen time of Aonuma like in a direct or something.
Yeah.
I can guarantee most of it is delay announcements. All right. Nintendo Talk asked, what game would genuinely make you excited to launch with the new console, assuming we are getting one soon, and what game do you realistically think will launch with the next system? I think we both have the same answer, 3D Mario.
3D Mario, absolutely.
This has to be.
Actually,
Like thing.
I think I might have sort of talked about this last time with what I want revived, and I said 2D Mario, which was kind of a cop-out answer, but I do think that launching a system with a 2D Mario game might even be a bigger deal. I mean, financially, it would be a bigger deal because 2D Mario sells multitudes more. And I'm not saying it would be more exciting to me, but I think especially because it's been so long since 2D Mario A has been reinvented, but just period, it's been a long time since we've um even gotten a new core 2D Mario game. Launching a system with a fresh take on 2D Mario that's not new soup, that brings in new ideas, that could be, I mean, that could be amazing. And also, there actually is no other big seller than doing that. I guess now Mario Kart and of course Pokemon, but like 2D Mario is also the biggest thing since sliced bread. So launching a system with 2D Mario might even end up being a bigger deal to more people.
I guess, to be fair to the Wii U, New Soup U was not well received even before release because it was just the fourth or fifth New Soup game.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it launching there didn't work. But I
Yeah.
completely disagree, to be honest. I don't
Okay.
think launching a 2D Mario with a Nintendo console makes sense. Is 2D Mario
What about the DS
bigger?
and
Yeah,
the NES and the SNES?
it didn't launch with the DS. Mario
Yeah,
64,
New Super Mario Bros.
Mario 64 did, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Oh, sorry.
Um,
New Soup was like it was very close to launch, but you're right. You're
yeah,
right.
it
Sorry,
was
Mario 64
was
DS
close to launch, and I think a 2D Mario would be close to launch.
Yeah.
But in terms of getting the hardcore base in, you want to have that next genre defining game like Breath of the Wild, like Odyssey. A 2D Mario game is a casual game, and
Yeah.
unless they have some insane new hook for it, I think a lot of people will look at it and just be
They
like,
could.
this is just New Soup again with a new art style, or this is just Mario Maker.
Yeah.
I already have Mario Maker. So, I mean, hopefully they would have a new big hook. But I think in terms of launching a console and getting your hardcore fans in there day one, well, I mean, we're going to buy it regardless. But I think having a big genre-defining next step for these core franchises makes sense. And also, I'll be curious to see when we get the next new 2D Mario game, not New Super Mario Bros. Because, you know, I think we're in a different time where 3D Mario could actually maybe outsell it. I think we are getting to that point.
Okay.
Because, I mean, even just looking at Zelda's evolution on the Switch, it's not like Breath of the Wild's one of the best-selling games of all time, and Zelda games don't sell well. Odyssey's the best-selling Mario 3D Mario game. Not counting like 64. Yeah. So obviously, yeah, New Super Mario Bros. Wii sold fucking 100 million copies, whatever. But I think there's a real chance that a 3D Mario game could actually sell better than a 2D Mario game in current day, even though that traditionally has not been the case. I mean, even New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe on Switch sold like 10 million copies or something, which is outrageous. So maybe I'm completely off base here, but either way, I think a 2D Mario would be coming. But regardless, to answer the question, a Mario game. Be it 2D,
Yeah.
be it 3D, you're launching with one of those. No question.
By the way, I think you were wrong about 64 being the highest selling. From
I said
looking at
Odyssey.
the number. Oh, Oh, sorry. I thought you like corrected yourself and said
I
64.
said
But
sorry. I said Odyssey, but I was saying that 64 might be higher if you count like re-releases, but I don't think we have any way to track that.
no, it's still not actually.
Oh,
I'm
really?
looking at versions of Super Mario 64, including the N64 DS version and the Wii Virtual Console version, totaling to 23.2 million. While Super Mario Odyssey is at 25.1
Okay.
million.
So
So it
yeah.
is still more.
Yeah. So
I just wanted to check.
yeah, for sure.
God, I love Odyssey.
Such a good game. All right.
Holy shit.
We have one final question here. It's kind of a long one.
Yeah.
From Torque Foreman 604. Do you think Nintendo is finally getting over its fear of old games cannibalizing sales of newer games and embracing having a library of IP through the years? Sales numbers for ports and remakes are good, and the quality of releases has been good as well. The NSO continues to grow its collection of games, and Nintendo has even created marketing campaigns, like with Metroid, promoting and encouraging people to go play older titles alongside the new ones
Yeah.
that are releasing. So we kind of
I
talked
like
about
that.
this last week when we were talking about what games would fall under a potential new Nintendo Select branding. And I said Nintendo Selects don't really need to exist because Nintendo has been doing this. They have been keeping up to date with older games and marketing them. You know, I still see Mario Tennis Aces being in an ad for this is
Yeah, still
Mario
do.
on Switch and it'll be Mario Tennis
Yep.
Aces, and that's a 5-year-old game now. So yeah, I think they are over their fear of that. I do wonder. I think it's on a franchise by franchise basis. I think like a new Paper Mario game being announced, I think would inherently make Origami King stop selling, just like on a store
Yeah.
shelf.
Well, that game's also probably not selling that much
Right,
anymore.
exactly. So at that point, it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
you know,
Well, so
go ahead.
I got a question, and I could just be, my nose is stuffed up, so my brain is filled with boogers or whatever. But was Nintendo scared of old games cannibalizing the sale of new games? Because as far as I can remember, I mean, they've never not done remakes of their older games. They put out Super Mario 3D All Stars, or sorry, Super Mario All Stars on Super Nintendo, uh, around the time that they put out Super Mario World, and there's plenty of examples of them doing the NES games on Game Boy Advance, and obviously having Virtual Console, and like they've always done re-releases of old games. So when were they scared that would cannibalize the sales of new games? Is that something I just am not remembering accurately?
Sure. Now that I'm reading the question again, actually, what I said was a little. It's not quite the answer to the question. They're
Yeah,
having a more living library of stuff, and they're not moving on from games. But I don't think there was ever a time where
yeah.
Nintendo was explicitly like, "Oh, we don't want to release this because it'll make the other thing stop selling."
Like Angry Birds. Rovio took down the first Angry Birds game because that was selling more than their new games. Which, by the way, what the fuck? That's so backwards
Yeah,
ass.
that was
It doesn't
horrible.
make any goddamn sense. But Nintendo's never done
Right, and
anything
to
like
your
that.
point, they've always done ports and remakes. Even
Always.
I think the only time they didn't really get into that was GameCube. And in that case, we had the Zelda collection, but that's it.
Yeah,
But then
yeah. That's
but on Wii, we got all those new
oh, and
Wii Play
a
Control games.
WarioWare kind of.
Sure. Um, but yeah, I don't know if they've ever been really afraid of old games cannibalizing sales.
No, I don't think
Ever
so.
especially, I mean, yeah, especially starting with Wii, they've
Yeah,
really been embracing
Virtual
that with the
Console
Virtual
and new Play
Console.
Control.
Right. And then um yeah, I think it's always been a supplemental income and just something they've always done with Virtual Console. And
Yeah,
now we have NSO, which maybe they're promoting these games more than they would have before because having that
sure.
subscription dollar is better than
Makes them more
buying.
accessible.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. They aren't afraid. They never really have been afraid of old
Yeah.
games cannibalizing new things. I mean, there's always the argument of like, oh, they're not going to release a new Mario Kart because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is selling so well. And I guess
Oh,
that's maybe that's
that's
the
the opposite.
argument.
But isn't that the opposite? Like that would be a new game cannibalizing the sale of the old game?
Yeah, you're right. That would be the opposite. And I mean that
Which also, by the way, still doesn't make any sense. Like
yeah.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has already sold 3.5 bajillion copies, and uh, Mario Kart 9 would also sell well, so that would just be more money. Like I would buy a copy of it, and I haven't bought a copy of Mario Kart since 2017. So
Yeah.
that's a terrible argument. Just
That
anyway.
yeah, the Mario Kart thing. I've always hated that. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, weird question, but thank you for writing in, of course.
Yeah,
It is definitely interesting, especially what I was saying about how Nintendo has had this like different approach to how they have been kind of keeping up with these games,
yeah,
specifically the
yeah.
Switch generation, just kind of keeping things active throughout all time. Obviously, some stuff goes out of print, like the more niche games, but you know, Star Allies is probably still on the store shelf, you know,
Mhm.
and there's 3 Kirby games on Switch.
Unfortunately.
And yeah, well, it's fine. All right, Tucker, let's wrap this up here. Before we go, of course, we're on Spotify. Like I said at the top, leave us questions in the Discord. We will try to answer as many as possible. And like I said, it doesn't have to be specifically Nintendo. I feel like people are really limiting themselves with the Nintendo questions. You can ask us about our
Yeah, yeah,
lives. You can ask us what we did last
yeah.
week. So get to know us better. Have a conversation about, and it ain't gotta be all gaming stuff here,
I'm not hiding
fellas.
anything
Yeah, well,
yet.
I'm hiding a copy of Tears of the Kingdom, hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. All right, Tucker, do you have any final closing words here before we get off this thing?
um, I'm really excited for Zelda, man. I, I have I haven't like really anticipated a game like this. I guess since Scarlet and Violet, I get very excited for Pokemon games coming out. But this game has such an allure to it that not many games have. And by the time we're recording next week's episode, I still won't have the game because we record on Thursdays and I won't be able to get my copy until Friday morning. But I'm just excited to be in like that next era because Breath of the Wild has defined my entire Zelda history. It was the first Zelda game that I played. And I think next week we'll probably talk about like our memories with Breath of the Wild and like the Breath of the Wild era coming to an end. But I'm always excited to see things move on. And Tears of the Kingdom is like, I guess, kind of the swan song, like the major swan song of this Switch. And goddamn, I love the Switch. So I'm rambling here. We'll probably talk a little more about this next time. But yeah, I'm so I'm so hypothetically jealous of you, you motherfucker.
Yeah, we'll be talking
Oh
about
my
Tears of the
god.
Kingdom a lot over the next month. I I'll probably end up going pretty in depth next week. Still no spoilers, of course, because the game will be out. So Tucker, I'm
Yeah,
sorry you got to sit there while I go in depth about a game that you still
it's
haven't
fine.
played.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know, it's
I
for
know what I
it's
got
for
myself into.
it's for the podcast. Yeah.
I
Uh,
started a podcast with a guy that gets every game early, so like, what do I expect? You know?
well, what can you do? Yeah, actually, my closing thing here, so related.
Okay.
Talking about the ending of this Breath of the Wild era. I did a video with my friend Caleb a couple days ago talking about it, spoiler free, about how it's kind of crazy to see the culmination of 10 years basically with this game and how exciting
Yes,
that is. And then I
very well
recorded
said.
another video talking about some spoiler stuff, and I go through like 2 games a year, I would say, that I get very excited for. Pokemon's another thing for me.
Yep.
And it's easy to look back now and be like, oh, Scarlet and Violet, I think that game's not the greatest. I still enjoyed it.
Hmm.
So maybe my, like, in retrospect, I wasn't that excited, but I know deep down I was like, that was the most hype thing ever for me for a while
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I have to say, Tears of the Kingdom, probably the most excited I've ever been for a video game. I will say that.
Yeah.
And so far, it's delivering. So that's crazy.
Good.
All right, people.
Hypothetically, I like
Hypothetically,
that.
it's delivering. All right, people. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe here on YouTube. Subscribe on follow on Spotify. We'll work on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, whatever that is, in the future. And until next time, see you guys.